And if you hear in venue, it's our in-venue announcers. So let's get into it.
Morning to the third morning of heats at this 2023 British Swimming Championships from Ponds Fords Pool in Sheffield. We've got women's 50 freestyle this morning, then men's 400 medley, women's 200 fly, and then the big boys in that 100 metres freestyle. And then some of the heats of the 1500 metres freestyle, with it, the final heat being in this evening's finals. This evening's finals starting at 6 o'clock. Delighted to be joined yet again by Amy Wilmot. Wilmot's 3 times Olympian, 2 times Olympic finalist in that 400 medley. And well, we've seen some fantastic swimming so far. And in actual fact, the only 2 qualifiers after the first 2 days were in that women's 400 medley, Amy. But what a swim that was from both women. Certainly from the winner was an exceptional time, wasn't it?
Yeah, really brilliant to see both Katie Shanahan and Freya Colbert there in the women's 400 individual medley. Coming into this meet, both had times quite far outside of that consideration or automatic qualifying spot, so they pushed each other in that, dropped 3 to 4 seconds off their personal best to achieve that time. So yeah, brilliant swim on day one.
Well, it's been a couple of days. It always seems to take a little bit of time to get into the sprinters at this meet, and finally we've got their women's 50 metres freestyle is first event up, and then we've got the men's 100 metres freestyle coming. Can't wait for that. The big focus in British swimming seems to be, certainly for the selection policy, Amy, seems to be much more around relays than it has been in the past.
Yeah, definitely. There's lots of opportunity now for those British swimmers to be at the events, not only as an individual swimmer, but also in those relays. So lots of opportunities now to be part of that Great Britain team moving forward.
So women's 50 metres freestyle, this is heat 3 of 8 heats. Heats 1 and 2 will be swum this afternoon. So they like to swim at 6 heats of each event in the morning session, and then any additional heats will be in an afternoon session for the slower heats. And this is the first heat we will see. It's heat 3 of 8 of the women's 50 metres freestyle. Alice Toon of City of Birmingham going in lane number 4. It looks like maybe up there in lane 7 at the moment is Sophie de Groot of Loughborough University. 10 lanes being used here. De Groot in the black cat, looks like she's got the touch. She does 26.32. New lifetime best for her by 0.4 of a second. Really great swim from her.
Yeah, fantastic start there, which is so important in these sprint events, and in particular in the freestyle. You can't afford to be slow off the block, not have that quick reaction time. So brilliant start from her, and another great way to start on day 3.
And the senior management, Amy, have been looking very much for season's bests by everyone at this meet. And if you can improve on that and do a lifetime best, then fantastic. But certainly try as a minimum to hit your season's best. I can't remember a meet where there's been so many, not only season's best, but lifetime best everywhere.
Yeah, we did see lots of them last year, but obviously we had COVID and we had a little bit of a gap. So this year we maybe didn't expect swimmers to be so quick in the morning, having had 12 months from last champs, but they're flying already.
Heat 4 of 8 heats of the women's 50 metres freestyle. Theodora Taylor of Torvine in lane number 4. Liam Ward of University of Bath in 5. Maybe the best start up there in lane 8. The 9 is at the top, and Maisie Guilford of University of Bath up there in 8 looks good. Also in 4 is Theodora Taylor, the 14-year-old, right in the centre. Who's going to get the touch? Really short stroke, but did well. 26.25. Theodora Taylor takes it. 26.2. New lifetime best by 0.4 of a second on the 50 freestyle. That's fantastic.
Yeah, indeed. And I think she's got a little bit more room for improvement there. She had a lovely long stroke coming into the wall. She had her head down for the last 15, but just got a little bit short on the finish. So if she'd maybe reached over and got that spot on, there'd have maybe been another 0.02 here or there.
Let's hope we get to see her again in one of the 4 finals this evening. 4 finals in each event. We have a junior final, a priority Paris final, then a B, and then the A final. So 4 opportunities to come back in the evening, and it really is giving these swimmers fabulous opportunity to practice their arena skills when it really matters under pressure. So that's heats 3 and 4 down. The last of the unseeded heats in the women's 50 freestyle. Jennifer Horn of City of Lincoln, Pentaqua, going in lane number 4.
Yeah, these heats now getting a little bit faster. You're wanting to get a really good start in this 50 freestyle. In the centre of the pool there, in the black hat, had a lovely start in lane 4. It was Jennifer Horn.
Well, look at why that start was so good right in the centre. But look at up there in lane number 6. Looks like Jana Spinner of University of Bath. Good fast turnover. Head down, no breathing. Very disciplined. 6 and 8, maybe it is. 6 gets the touch. I think it was Jana Spinner. Her entry time 26.58, and she's just gone 26.4. Wow. So Jana Spinner getting the touch, was it? Or no? Yes, it was. Jana Spinner, 26.44. 14/100s inside of her lifetime best. She gets it. Beth Hall second, Amy West third.
Yeah, she finished that 50 freestyle really strong. Head down, I think from about 17 metres she was, so she had a really, really strong finish and finished obviously in the new lifetime best.
The first of the seeded heats of the women's 50 free. Evelyn Davis, the 18-year-old, in lane 4. Imogen Clark in 3. Rebecca Guy in 5. So Evie Davis in 4 from Stirling, national age group record holder on the 16-year age group, 25.27. That is her lifetime best, and if she can get close to that, that would be something special. Going well is Rebecca Guy in 5 from Bristol. In 5 it's Bristol, maybe in 3 as well. It's Imogen Clark, the 50 metres breaststroke specialist, but it looks like it's going to be Rebecca Guy in 5. Very good second 25 there, 25.40. Just outside of her lifetime best of 25.34, but a new season's best for her.
Yeah, did very well there to hold that stroke rate through the length. It's quite easy when you're swimming, especially sprinting, to get really tired in that last sort of 10 or 15 metres, but she held her head down, and that turnover she just kept into the wall.
So Rebecca Guy wins it 25.40. Don't often see a sprint breaststroker coming into sprint freestyle, but Imogen Clark very good there, 25.80 getting second. That should put her through to the final on the 50 free. Impressive. So heat 7 of 8, they're really coming thick and fast here. Isabella Hindley saw her the other day. She said, I can't believe I'm still swimming. Age 26, well, she's getting faster and faster, and delighted she is, because really important member of the British team. Those relays, 100 freestyle, so important to Team Great Britain. She's in 4, Harriet Jones in 3, Harriet Rogers in 5. And in 2 is the gold medalist from the 50 metres butterfly, Sophie Yendel of Deventio. And the Deventio swimmer in lane number 2, well, she went 26.1 on the 50 fly, and her entry time's 25.9 on the freestyle. She's going well in the white hat closer to us down here in lane number 2. So it's Yendel in 2. In 4, it's Isabella Hindley. In 5, it's Harriet Rogers. Just tying up a little bit is Yendel, who gets the touch. 25.61. It looks like it was Yendel by 2/100ths from Hindley in second and Harriet Rogers in third.
Yeah, really good finish there. Thought Sophie Endel might be tying up a little bit, but she took one breath with 15 metres to go and then got that head straight back down and finished on a really good stroke. So fantastic to see her. We knew she'd be quick after that 50 metres butterfly. Finishes 25.61.
Interesting how close to a butterfly split. 25.6. She went 26.1 to win gold on the 50 fly. Only half a second quicker. Huh? Seems a small amount. She's a very quick fly swimmer, isn't she?
Yeah, she was really good in that yesterday, so it was pretty impressive to see her in the 50 freestyle as well.
Anna Hopkin in lane 4, our British Olympic champion, anchored that wonderful mixed medley relay in Tokyo to a world record and a gold medal. Still remember that final leg up against the great Caleb Dressel. Look at that black cat right in the centre. Head down. Goodness me, she's like a speedboat. Look at the water going over her head. Breathed at about 30 metres, her first breath. Still hasn't taken a second one yet. There it is, the second breath. I would imagine she'll now go all the way to the wall. Straight arms, very strong, kayak stroke. Goodness me, she looks good. Anna Hopkin from Loughborough University. The time 24.72, just outside of the consideration time set by British Swimming to qualify for the World Championships at 24.65. 7/100, Amy, where she's going to get make that up into the final this evening.
I think the occasion and the arena can bring that out of her. She had a very, very tidy race there this morning. She breathed 25 metres and then she breathed around 15. So maybe she might take that second breath out when she's really working hard, and that might be where she gets that 0.7 a little bit later on.
Well, it's right on her season's best. It's not too far outside of her lifetime best, and just 7/100ths of a second outside of that consideration time. So the summary of the swimmers this morning, it is still provisional because there's a couple of heats, the slower heats still to come, but Anna Hopkin, 24.72, by far the fastest into the final this evening. Equal 9th. Well, that's lucky. It's equal for first place in the B final. 16th. Amy Davis has made it in.
Yeah, coming up is the men's 400 individual medley, and all 6 of these heats will be swam this morning. So 1 to 6, and then we should receive a full results summary ahead of tonight. So I always look forward to this event in the programme, whether it's male or female, so I'm sure we're in for another really cracking race today.
Amy, can I ask you a quick question? What is it that gets you excited about the heats of the 400 medley? You know, let's go to that in a second, as this is the first heat of 6. All 6 heats of this men's 400 medley will be swum this morning, and the fastest seed in this first heat is Bellent Ashton of the City of Liverpool. I'll give you a second to think about that. So heat 1 of 6 of the men's 400 medley, and double Olympic finalist Amy Wilmot is going to tell us why heats of the men's 400 medley are exciting in the morning.
I think because the lead changes so much that it makes it so exciting. So somebody who's necessarily a really good butterflyer might not be leading the race at the end of the breaststroke. I was never out that well, so I was maybe turning in kind of 6th and 7th after the butterfly, and then managed to pull my way through a little bit on the backstroke and then on the breaststroke. So for me it was quite exciting. Maybe not my parents watching in the stands who knew I was always going to be out of the race and had to haul my way back through, but I think that's what makes it so exciting for me. It is that lead change all the time.
Good. No, I'm being slightly facetious. I do love the 400 medley, and we've been very lucky to have some fantastic British 400 medley swimmers, with you and Hannah Miley having such wonderful battles over the years. Hannah Miley relatively recently retired, as you have done. What are you doing with your time these days, Amy? I mean, it will also be interesting to find out what Hannah's doing as well. But what do you do when you've been a double Olympic finalist in a 400 medley, and then you start your retirement, your next phase of life?
Yeah, I started working, got married, had a baby, so I've been a little bit busy, and I think it was nice to kind of step into that next challenge, and motherhood's probably as difficult as swimming a 400 individual medley.
What's Hannah Miley up to these days, do we know?
Yeah, she's doing lots within sport in Scotland, especially in female sport as well, so she's been a really good advocate of that, and it's nice to see Scottish swimming in particular, really nurturing those younger swimmers.
That certainly is. What a stalwart of world and British swimming she was, as you were. Still English record holder, and I think she's still British record holder, isn't she, on the 400 medley for women?
Yeah, that really tough time she set in Rome, I believe, in 2009. So it was a brilliant swim for her, from her to do that time, and I never got quite that close to it.
Well, this is the halfway mark in the first heat of 6 heats of men's 400 medley. Good discipline around that wall as well. But a really big backstroke flip back to breaststroke. That's a very, very good backstroke leg from Isaac Thompson of the Tigers Swim Club from Jersey. And he's born 2008, so he's a real youngster. Excellent backstroke. Starting to catch him on the breaststroke up there. Lane 5-0 is Luke Clegg from Kirklees. Yeah,
the breaststroke is really important leg of the medley. The backstroke for me was one where you couldn't really take too much rest, and Isaac there, sorry, really working well on that backstroke leg. Not necessarily the strongest breaststroker, as we're seeing already down this first 50, but Luke Clegg is starting to come back. He's really holding that water. He's got a lovely long breaststroke in the black hat there. He's really stretching and gliding and reaching down this second 50.
And you can see the yellow hat of Isaac Thompson. His recovery is quite high. He doesn't seem to be getting quite as much distance out of every stroke on this breaststroke. His backstroke was super. He may well end up giving about a 3 or 4 metre lead. Let's hope he can stay close to Luke Clegg. Clegg in the black hats up there with Balint Ashton of Liverpool, City of Liverpool between the two in that red hat. But first to turn with 100 metres to go in this first heat of the men's 400 medley. It's Luke Clegg of Kirklees in 5. Chasing him is Isaac Thompson in that yellow hat closer to us. And then in the red hat of City of Liverpool, Ashton.
Yeah, in the red hat there, he's really trying to make the charge. He was so tight around that turn, which set him in good stead off that wall underwater. And he looks like a really strong freestyle swimmer, so he's starting to make his way up. In the black hat there, Luke just needs to hold on to the water, maybe really go to those legs down this last 50 if he's going to hold on to that 5 metre lead.
Well, Clegg going very well, I've got to say. Breathing to his right-hand side, the race over this side, but he's so far ahead, he doesn't need to look around at all. He just needs to start locking onto that finish wall. He's got about 20 metres to go now as Luke Clegg in this first heat of the men's 400 medley. And it's been an impressive swim. Really has. Great freestyle leg from Balint Ashton of City of Liverpool, overtaken Isaac Thompson of Tigers. And a good swim, 4:35. Well, that's excellent, because his entry time and his lifetime best was 4:43, an 8-second lifetime best on a 400 medley. Look at his face. That says absolutely everything. Well, if you're going to stick yourself on the line and do a 400 medley, why not go an 8-second lifetime best at the British National Championships in the heats? Yeah, brilliant there. You can see how much it means to him. Some of these swimmers coming into this meet, in particular the distance events, they are really tough to swim all season unless you've maybe rested up a little bit and you feel a bit fresh. So he's maybe surprised himself there by the look of that smile on his face, and an 8-second PB is a great way to start. So Clegg wins it for Kirklees. Balint Ashton of City of Liverpool second, and Isaac Thompson. Oh, great lifetime best for him in third. So heat 2 of 6, men's 400 medley. Sam Williamson, University of Bath, is the fastest seed. The Fanes of Bath in 5. Lau of Birmingham in 3. So a huge lifetime best in the first heat. Always love watching the first heats. If you're in one of the later heats, I do love watching one of those first heats. It doesn't half help your adrenaline flow when you see someone go as quick as that first heat was won in, and such a massive lifetime best. Suddenly the pressure right on you going, I cannot have a slower heat swimmer beat me. Did you think that, or did you think, I don't care what he does, I'm just going to go, she does, I'm just going to go as fast as I can? I think when I was younger, definitely just got in and tried to give it my best. You couldn't save anything if you were wanting to make it into one of those top finals, so not necessarily just the junior final, but I was always striving to be in those A or B finals when I was younger, so you didn't have the opportunity to kind of get in and take it easy. And they're the swims where you learn a lot and you challenge yourself, because you've gone super quick in the morning and then you've only got to think, right, how can I now improve when I've made one of those finals tonight? Very interesting. Well, talking about making the finals tonight, these guys do have some work to do because there's no rest for the wicked here on this 400 medley. It's a tough event, starting with 100 meters butterfly. Amy, when you start with 100 fly on a 400 medley, I mean, it's one of the tougher ones. If you're not a natural butterfly swimmer, it's one of the tougher ones right at the start of the race. How would you, if you weren't necessarily the best fly swimmer, it doesn't come absolutely natural to you, how do you go about swimming that butterfly leg so you don't leave it all on the fly leg and have got nothing left for the rest, but equally don't get left behind?
It's that really fine line of trying to make it as easy as possible, but stay in the race. It is so easy in an individual medley to maybe catch 1 or 2 seconds back. So I tried not to maybe worry about the girls going out 60, 61 seconds and thought, right, if I'm out in around 63, which is roughly where I needed to be at the start of a medley, then I knew that regardless of that 2-second gap, I could catch that on the backstroke and the breaststroke. So it's all about being really confident in your race plan and what your strengths are.
Well, that is interesting. I'm going to ask you on the next race as well, if you are a good fly swimmer, what do you do? Because clearly you don't want to go too quick and use too much energy on it, but at the same time, if it is your strength, why not give it a crack? This is really interesting. Look how even it is. It is. Lane 0 is closest to us, and almost all across the pool, 5 or 6 swimmers all in a line. In lane 0, Daniel Jackson of Borough of Kirklees, and a really good start. His first 200, excellent. Maybe the best breaststroke is right in the centre there, though. In lanes 4, Sam Williamson. In 3, it's Benz Lau. In 5, Thomas Defanes.
Yeah, starting to come through now with that lovely long stroke. Slightly higher rate than we saw in some of those breaststroke swimmers before, but they are going a little bit faster. But lane 3 there had a lovely turn in the white hat, was Benz Lau. Really got round that wall quick, but not only did he kind of pull hard, he really got tight into that streamline and just edging away from the rest of those boys now because of that.
Excellent technical analysis around those turns, and look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys all in a row with 100 meters to go in this heat 2 of 6 heats of the men's 400 medley. Closest to us is Daniel Jackson of Kirklees. Is he going to touch first? I think he did, just about. Yes, very close indeed. Jackson in 0, Benz Lau 2nd, Williamson 3rd, Defanes 4th, but very, very tight with 75 meters to go on this final leg of the 400 medley.
Yeah, it is indeed. For me, I used to try and kind of pace the butterfly and the freestyle were around about the same time. So if I was out 62, which is very rare, could I come back 62? So these boys here were in the centre of the pool, were out in around that 61-second mark. So looking really good here at the back end of the race.
So right, Emmy, you'll try and match your freestyle and your fly legs?
If I could, so I knew if I was out maybe 63, I would want to be as close to 63 as I returned. Not often was I able to get really close to that. I'd maybe be 64, 65, but it's a really tough ask to be able to do that.
Oh, it certainly is. That's very impressive. So in lane number 4, Sam Williamson of University of Bath. His lifetime best 4:37.8, and he's just gone 4:35.6. Well, I can't get bored of saying a new lifetime best, can I? But it's happening every single time. 4:35.6, a new lifetime best for Sam Williamson of Bath University. Second was Benz Lau of Birmingham, 4:36.2. Huge lifetime best for him by 3 seconds as well. Some super swimming this morning.
Yeah, and it was really well paced. Those 3 swimmers in the centre of the pool were pretty even on most of the strokes, so they had that little battle kind of going on the whole way through, which has spurred both of those boys there to swim personal best times.
So Williamson wins it, Lau 2nd, Rapson 3rd. Lifetime best for the first 2 swimmers there. Possibly first 3 actually as well. I didn't check that one. So heat 3. Men's 400 medley. Donald Bissett of Stirling was the fastest seed. Redan Arch of Cardiff in 3. James Shevchenko in 5. Well, it's already getting quick. The last heat 1 in faster than the lifetime best of all of these swimmers in this heat. I keep talking about it, but it is really interesting. If the slower heat before your heat is won in a faster time than every single swimmer, all 10 swimmers, it's got to affect you a little bit, surely. And you seem to be pretty steely here, Amy. I'm quite interested to see how you're able to stand behind the blocks and just say, hey, nothing to do with me, but I'm just going to go and swim my own race. But really interesting.
In particular, in the 400 individual medley, you can't get too excited. I remember at the European Championships one time, I went off like an absolute rocket on the butterfly, got so excited because I thought I was in good form. I was maybe watching other people swim and just got basically too excited and had too much adrenaline, and I really suffered for it at the end. So I learned that lesson pretty quickly, that to swim a good 400 individual medley, it was all about swimming my own race plan and not worrying about anybody else.
Well, as easy speed as possible for the guys right in the centre, just under 60 seconds. James Shevchenko turning first, 59.6 with a 59.9 from Patrick Braddock of Swansea University in lanes 5 and 6 respectively. Lane 5, he still heads Amy on this backstroke, but maybe leaning just a little bit to his right-hand side. Not sure he's grabbing quite as much water as he could at the catch phase of the backstroke.
Yeah, the backstroke is really important not to use as that rest phase, so you want to try and get that lovely even stroke and even rotation and be really tight round that butterfly to backstroke turn, but also use that backstroke turn to your advantage. And lane 6 there, doing that really well in the blue hat. And if you're maximising that underwater opportunity, then you come up into that backstroke and you're then kind of in that nice rhythm as you come down the second 50.
So James Shevchenko of the Royal Wolverhampton School in 5 has got, what, about a 3.5, 4 metre lead or so at the halfway mark in this, the last of the unseeded heats of the men's 400 medley. And he is in lane number 5, turning first. And he's turned, what, about 2.5 seconds ahead of Reardon Arch of Cardiff in second place. Third it is Patrick Braddock. Now the charge comes, and this breaststroke leg is always so brutal. And look at the quality of the breaststroke in lane number 4 of Donald Bissett of Stirling. He looks really strong and already caught up pretty much all of that 3 metre lead just on the first 30 metres or so.
Yeah, lovely breaststroke. It's so important when you swim 400 individual medley to make sure that you're finishing the kick on the breaststroke. A lot of the time you'll think, I maybe rate with the arms, and you're getting a bit tired and those legs are starting to fatigue. But if you're not squeezing the water out with the back, then obviously you're not going to accelerate at the front. And really, really nice underwater work as well. So if you compare that lovely long stroke with those really tight turns, the breaststroke is a big chunk of the race where you can make a big difference.
Such a powerful breaststroker as well, Amy. Look at this, Bizet in lane 4. Also going well is Novaki of Jersey Tigers up there in lane 8 in that yellow hat. He's had a really good breaststroke leg as well, and well, his breaststroke is outstanding. So 100 metres freestyle to go. He's born in 2007, is Philip Novaki right at the top there. Real youngster, real junior. So this is an impressive swim for him, and his entry time 4:37.6, and he could well go way under that if he can bring it home. 2 decent freestyle legs needed from 4 and 7, and this could be quick from them.
Yeah, indeed, and they've both gone off quite hard on this first 50 freestyle. I think often I used to, in particular, forget that I had to turn and come back, so I'd maybe burned a bit too much of my legs too early. So I learned to really control that breaststroke to freestyle transition so that I was building and building rather than fading and being overtaken.
Must be quite difficult, though, if that's what you want to achieve, not to go too slow on those that first 15 metres or so.
No, it's about using the momentum from the breaststroke to the freestyle, but not thinking, right, now I've got to go because it's a freestyle. It's obviously still a 90 metres race by the time you pop up from that underwater, so it's really important to use that.
So Novaki in the yellow hat up there of Tigers of Jersey going well, but really great freestyle leg from Porter of Camden Swiss Cottage in 9. Who gets the touch? Porter's got it by 0.3 of a second. But both of those guys, huge lifetime best yet again. 4:33.01. Lewin Porter wins it for Camden Swiss Cottage over Philip Novaki of Tigers of Jersey. But 4:33.0 and 4:33.3. A good 4 and 5 seconds underneath their entry times and qualification times. Brilliant swim from those two.
Yeah, our winner there had a excellent freestyle leg. I don't even think he was within 5 metres. We turned from that breaststroke to freestyle. So of European Youth Olympic Festival age, he's done a very good job there to hopefully give the selectors something to think about.
He certainly has, and there's going to be some great swimming in the finals this evening, because that wasn't even a seeded heat. In actual fact, they're only seeding the last 2 heats, so I think I said that was the last of the seeded heats. This is the last of the seeded heats, heat 4 of 6. The fastest 20 swimmers will be going in lanes 5 and 6, spread evenly amongst the 2. So nobody in lane number 6, I think it is here. So John Britton has withdrawn from Ealing in this heat 4 of the men's 400 medley. Thomas Wilkinson of City of Sheffield in lane 4 is the fastest seed, with Josh Press of Stirling in 5 and Jay Manners of Northumberland in lane 3.
For me, on this butterfly, it was really important to think about a breathing pattern. So I think in lane number 2, we're breathing 1, then 2 down, then 1. I used to think the first 50, if I breathed every 2, just to really set the butterfly up. And then on the returning 50, I would breathe 2 and then 1, because I needed a little bit more breath to get some more oxygen in. So that's something really valuable that you can work on to help make that butterfly as easy as possible.
It's a cracking idea, just maybe concentrate on the breathing rather than necessarily how much it's hurting, and just let it flow. Is that?
Yeah, indeed, because I think as you come into this backstroke turn, you don't want to be huffing and puffing, because if you can stay underwater here, like some of these boys have, past that 5 metre mark, then you come up nice and flat into that backstroke. If you're desperate for air, you'll just come up, pop up, maybe go gasp a little bit, and then you have to try and find your flow again.
Using the momentum off each of the walls. There aren't many walls compared to short course meters, certainly. There aren't that many walls. What is it, 7 turns on a 400 medley, and using every single one. And if you can just get a couple of centimetres, hardly anything on every single one, 7 lots of a couple of centimetres is, I don't know what your maths is like, Amy, but 7 times a couple is quite a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's really, like, I used to find it really interesting that there were 7 different turns in the 400 individual medley, so you couldn't just practice one and think, oh, I'm good at that. Obviously, we have the touch turns, which are similar, and the rotation turns, but you're still coming in and out on a totally different stroke.
Well, that's a fascinating point. We did watch the turns, particularly this back to breaststroke turn when the women's 400 medley. Let's just see how they do. The 2 guys at the top, look, Oscar Dodds in 8 and Evan Davison in 7. What kind of turns are they going to do? Is it a touch, or is it 2 different types there?
Yeah, so I think we had a flip turn down in lane 2. We had maybe a rotation turn, that crossover turn at the top. And the kind of easiest turn is to touch and then turn on your front. That flip turn is a little bit easier to master, but it's still not as quick. And that crossover turn is the most effective one, which you'll see a lot of the boys in the next couple of heats practicing.
Well, done well. It's a beautiful thing to see, but also so much quicker if you can do it and do it well, is it not?
Yeah, lots quicker, because you don't lose that momentum. So as you come over the top on that final stroke, you just get really nicely tightly tucked and come off. If you're really slow around the wall, then you're going to go in slow, get round slow, and then come off slow. So you want to just really carry that punch from back to breast.
Well, the momentum certainly has been continued here. Up there in, is it lane 7, Evan Davison of Perth City. On my sheet, Elaine Johnston is the coach up there. Fabulous swimmer she was, and now, of course, coaching up there in Perth. So lane 7 it is, Evan Davison, I think going to lead going into the freestyle leg. Maybe in 3, Jay Manners of Northumberland. It looks like it is Manners just ahead of Davison by 1/10 of a second, something like that. So down in lane number 3, the Black Cat of Jay Manners of Northumberland and Durham Performance. Very good, aggressive start to this freestyle leg. Well, Amy, you were talking just earlier a little bit about not going too fast down the very first 15 or so, but it looks like he's set up a decent momentum here, the Black Cat in lane 3 of Jay Manners, and he's looking strong. Yeah,
he does look really strong here, but gone off really well is also Kuresh Koda. He had got off that wall, breathed every 2, could kind of not really see where his competitors are, but now coming down this second length, he's obviously looking across the pool.
And Koresh Kodaka right at the bottom of the shot here in this yellow hat of City of Leeds. He's having a crack at him, isn't it? This is really, really tight. Heat 4 of 6, the last of the unseeded heats of the men's 400 medley. Very tight indeed. Jay Manners, the black cat, it looks like it might be Kodaker of Leeds. Very, very good last 15 metres. Well, you were talking yesterday about locking into the wall and winning the races at the finish, not at the start, but at the finish. And that's exactly what Kodaker's just done of Leeds. Yeah, he built that freestyle really well. Obviously, a very strong freestyle swimmer, as he made a little bit of ground on that first 50 there. But he got round that turn, came off the wall, and just obviously could see his competitors across the pool and really drove into the wall. And not breathing last 4. I thought at maybe 10 metres he was going to put his head down and then try and get all the way in, which is a big ask. Snuck a cheeky breath, I think it was, in around 5. But yeah, definitely carried that speed right into the finish. Well, a 5-second lifetime best for the winner, Koros Kodaker of Leeds. A 4-second lifetime best for Jay Manners in second place. And Davison in third. Well, he's done a 4-second lifetime best as well. I haven't checked the rest of them, but really good swimming. The last of the unseeded heats, and that will give him a chance of going through to a final this evening. Have to wait and see. Some big guys in this one, though. The first of the seeded heats, Mark Sharanek of Carnegie, going in lane number 4. Ruben Roebuck and Keating of Manchester Aquatics in 3. Angus Allison, Sterling in 5. Really good reaction to the gun at the start of this 400 medley. Up there in lane number 8 in the yellow hat was Charlie Broom of Leeds. But Sharanek in the centre, well, he has trained a lot in America, swam at Florida. I think he won NC2As, which is almost unheard of for a British swimmer to go. Very, very few Brits have gone over to America and won their college national championships. But I think he won the 200 medley, didn't he? He certainly did very well if he didn't win it. Yeah, he's been very competitive out there in America. Came back to Britain to train for a little bit at the University of Stirling and then gone back to the sunshine. And he's a very, very tough trainer, likes to be kind of put through his paces and worked really hard and off really well here on the butterfly. And I have no doubt that he'll want to blow some of those cobwebs away. We've not seen Mark race yet, so this is a good opportunity for him this morning to get some racing experience under his belt. Well, he was a teammate of Caleb Dressel at the Florida Gators University swim team there. Now, of course, Anthony Nesty is the coach, winner of the Olympic 100 metres butterfly in 1988. And America's chief coach now, coaching Katie Ledecky, and what a programme they've got. Well, this is good to see Mark Sharanek back on it. He had a couple of years of a tough time, but he looks like he's back and fit and looks very good. His fly leg was strong, his backstroke, he's working quite hard, a little bit awkward. Legs a little bit deep on the kick. Does come up well, but very, very good technically around those walls. Yeah, we can see there he's gone 8 metres off the wall there on that backstroke turn, and that's very difficult to do in a backstroke event, never mind in just the medley event. So he's kind of making up for where he's maybe not got the smoothest or easiest backstroke by really working those technical points around the walls. I'm saying it was a deep kick. It's a very effective kick, and it's very powerful indeed. And he's coming into the halfway mark. He's a decent breaststroke and freestyler, so this is a very good start for Sharanek. Sharanek leads at the halfway in the second last heat of the men's 400 medley. 2:04 to the touch is good. Second was Angus Allison of Stirling. Third, Tony Joe Trett-Oliver of Stirling. Now, can they start catching Sharanek? Sharanek in 4. In 5, it's Angus Allison. And Sharanek's breaststroke, not quite sure which is his weakest stroke. Do you know? I would have said he maybe has to work slightly harder on the backstroke, but he's held his ground really well there. And Angus Allison, just behind him there, is a very, very good breaststroke swimmer. So he's a great 200 individual swimmer in that event. So he's starting to catch now, squeezing a little bit longer as he drives forwards, and kind of every time he's just getting a tiny smidge back on Mark there. But he's doing really well to kind of hold Angus off. Well, these two are having very solid breaststroke legs, because up there in lane number 6, Tony Joe Trett-Oliver of Stirling's not a bad breaststroker either, but he's not able to make any dent in this lead of Sharanek. And second place at the moment, Angus Allison. And with 100 metres to go in this second last heat of the men's 400 medley. Impressive here from Sharanek. 3:19, so I'm guessing he's going to go somewhere around, what, maybe 20, 3:20? Does he come back in sub 60?
Yeah, I think probably this morning around that low 20s is probably a good time for Mark. He knows he doesn't have to be very close to his personal best of that 4:13, and when you get older, it is very difficult to be able to get in and swim two very, very high level swims. Obviously, at international level, you have to be able to do that. So we quite often see swimmers practice that in heats and then in the finals. But it looks like this morning, Mark's maybe just swimming a good swim, but not all out to make it back for the finals.
Oh, really good freestyle from Angus Allison as well. Beautiful stroke, breathing to his left, trying to have a good look at Sharanek, and Sharanek can see him breathing to his right. Sharanek's just decided that's enough. I've had enough of you, mate. I'm just going to turn it up a little bit, gone to his legs. And as much as Angus Allison was getting excited and catching up, Sharanek's just closed the door at the end. Let's see what the time, 4:22, so 62-second 100 meters freestyle at the end there, but he was very, very comfortable until about 85 meters, and then looked to me, Amy, like he just said, that's enough. That's enough. You just stay back there in second place and I'll take the win.
Yeah, didn't fancy being swam over in that last 15 meters. No matter how easy you take a heat, you don't want to be beaten right at the end. So yeah, just turning those legs on a little bit as he comes into the finish. But great swim as well from Angus Allison there. So the two of those boys quite a way ahead of the rest of the competitors as we go into the second seeded heat.
So Sharanek winning 4:22.34, 4:22, and the consideration time set by Great Britain's 4:13. So he's got to improve by 9 seconds in the final this evening. It's not impossible, but it's a big ask. He's got to do a lifetime best to qualify for the British team for the World Championships, which are coming up in Fukuoka, Japan in July of this year. The final heat of the men's 400 medley. Goodness me, this has gone quickly, Amy. Really fast. Final heat, William Riley of Cardiff, the fastest seed in 4. Riley in 4, in 5, Charlie Hutchison of Loughborough University. Slightly better start, only getting about 30 centimetres or so, but you've got to work quite hard down the rest of the length just to catch up the 30 centimetres that Hutchison just got from a slightly better streamline and a slightly better underwater kick.
Yeah, a lot of the time we think in maybe 400 events that it doesn't matter as much. I was very slow off the block and I tried so hard to work on that, but I just couldn't get any better, and I was then always trying to catch up on the underwater or down the first 50, so it might only be 30 centimetres or so, but it's 30 centimetres more work than you have to do than your competitors.
Very interesting. Adam Peaty wasn't necessarily known for his starts either. That's starts in first sort of 15 metres or so, but he's really worked on it over the last few years with his coach Mel Marshall, and now back up to being world class on the start as well as the rest of the field. I mean, such a brilliant swimmer. The swim phase, incredible. Wasn't quite as good on the start and the turn, but now right on it. In lane 5, Charlie Hutchinson, well, he had a good dive, good start in his backstroke, long, languid, moving his head a little bit as he's rolling his shoulders, but good shoulder rotation on that backstroke, so he's able to really dig deep and get some good, steady, still, clear water to get hold of on that backstroke catch.
Yeah, the rotation is really important in that backstroke, and especially in the medley, because if the flatter you are, the more chance you have of kind of catching the surface. And because this event is so laborious and it's so tiring, you want to make sure that you're rotating and getting that really good catch on every single arm pull.
And 7 butterfly kicks off the wall as well for Charlie Hutchinson. So good detail, good attention to detail, and of course in that stable of Dave Hemmings, where he really hammers into the importance of the technical stuff. He's got some brilliant Abbey Wood, wonderful off the walls, lovely turn as well, lovely fluid flowing turn, no stops, didn't lose momentum at all around that wall, Charlie Hutchinson. That was impressive, and maybe made up another half a metre or so just on that turn.
Yeah, it's a skill that is very difficult to learn, so any junior swimmers out there that are maybe not feeling as confident, the more and more you practice it in training, even if you get it wrong, it becomes a lot faster, and when you practice that in competition, you can take little bits off your competitors. So yeah, one of those really, really difficult skills, but if you can master it, it gives you a massive advantage.
So Hutchinson leading in lane number 5 from Marcel Whittles of Chelsea Westminster in 6. Coached there by Lisa Bates. And ex-coach of yours, actually, I think, Lisa, isn't she?
Yeah, she was my coach for the majority of my career. Helped me to my first Olympics, my second Olympics, and yeah, it's brilliant to be coached under her. And I know she runs a tight ship, so Edward here will know he's got that big training background in him and the confidence to finish really well.
Also good to hear that Mo's going to be joining her back again as a coach at Chelsea Westminster. Lovely guy, Mo. So congratulations to him rejoining the stable at Chelsea Westminster under Lisa Bailey's tutelage. So 100 metres to go in the final heat of the men's 400 medley. And Charlie Hutchinson, well, he's led right from the start, right from the gun, in fact. At first 15 metres or so. Very comfortable, looks really good. And this is an impressive, it looks easy. I don't know how hard he's working, Amy, but it looks really easy, really comfortable. Yeah,
very smooth. He's just breathing every 2, not really huffing and puffing and wasting lots of energy. And he turned, I think, around a tiny bit slower than Mark there, but nails that underwater work on the last 50. And I think this will be around a similar time, that 4:22, 4:21 mark.
Almost doing a catch-up stroke as well. Look, he leaves that arm out the front, surfs off that first arm, and then the recovery arm almost catching it up before the next one goes in. Lovely long stroke. Relies quite a lot on the legs, though, so he's got to really concentrate on the turnover, the tempo of his stroke. 4:24, well, an easy final 100 metres there for Charlie Hutchinson, winning the final heat of the men's 400 medley. He'll get a centre lane for the final this evening. Edward Marcel's Whittle of Chelsea Westminster, really good swim from him, 4:26. New lifetime best for Lisa Bates, prodigy there. Coming in second and third, William Riley of Cardiff.
Yeah, not a lot really that those boys had to do this morning. 4:24 is a pretty comfortable swim. We saw Freya and Katie not necessarily working super hard in those heats, but Charlie Hutchinson there just behind the winners of the heat before. As I said, Marcel Whittles there, fantastic swim, and another personal best from him.
So Hutchinson wins it, Marcel Whittles second, Riley third. That is the final heat of the men's 400 medley. 6 heats in total. And I think Hutchinson will be in one of the centre lanes for the final this evening. I think Sharanek maybe just a little bit faster. Here we go. So Mark Sharanek, back training in the States, I think, but certainly back on good form. They've got an awful long way to go to get to that 4:13 qualification time. But Sharanek fastest in, Allison second, Hutchinson third. They'll be in the centre lanes this evening. And look at that, 2/100ths of a second. Bertoli just missing out on the final slot, 9th to 8th by 2/100ths on 4 minutes and 29 seconds.
Yeah, really tough. So he'll go into the B final there in that centre lane. So not necessarily the position you want to be in, but you will have a good spot for that final tonight. 16th, Evan Davis will be the last swimmer in that B final, 4:31.39, and then obviously our priority Paris finals and our junior finals will be filled up of swimmers that fit the correct age category. So those junior swimmers born 2005 to 2009 that could qualify for the European Junior Championships, and our under 23s in that priority Paris final.
In actual fact, I think there's 5 meets that the juniors can be selected for this summer. Awful lot of stuff. Whether Great Britain's going to focus on all of those meets, I'm not quite sure. The World Junior Championships, for some bizarre reason, has been scheduled for September. And I can't believe that's a good idea. With the year before the Olympic Games, they've decided to put the World Junior Championships in September. Then what do you do after that? You take a couple of weeks off in October? It's starting to eat into your preparation time for Olympic trials, is it not?
Yeah, it's very difficult to swim well at that time of the year because your season's so long. I remember in Delhi in the Commonwealth Games in 2010, I'm pretty sure that was in October. So I ended up swimming all the way through August, pretty much the only swimmer in the pool. And then I managed to take, I think, a week's holiday in October. So it's not ideal, and it doesn't really fit the rest of the swimming calendar. So it makes sense that British swimming are choosing to prioritise the European Juniors over the World Junior Championships.
Well, hopefully we will have the new director of youth swimming. I don't actually know exactly what his title is. Do you know what his title is, Mr. Lynn?
I just know he's across lots and lots of age group swimmers. He's got a very difficult job because so many of them have swam so well already at the British Championships. I wouldn't like to be in that position of working out who's done the time and how many of those juniors can qualify for the summer meets. So yeah, he's obviously got a lot of good talent, and it's nice to see lots of that coming through in British swimming.
Well, he's a fabulous person to put in charge, I have to say, Alan Lynn. And if you want to stick anyone in charge, I mean, he gave a very good presentation the other day to the coaches and the officials about what's going on in terms of the youth side, and hopefully we'll get him into the commentary box during the 1500 metres freestyle fairly shortly in a couple of those heats, and see if we can get some of the wisdom shared around British swimming and what he's doing and what his aims are and how he's doing it, because the youth side, getting those younger swimmers one into the youth championships and then through to make that breakthrough into senior championships is so vital. Women's 200 metres butterfly, this is the third heat. Heats 1 and 2 will be in the session for the slightly slower heats this afternoon. British Swimming decided they would like to have 6 heats maximum in the morning, so heats 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 of this women's 200 metres butterfly are right now. So this is the first one of those, heat 3. And Zara Davis of Millfield School right in the centre in lane 4 is the fastest seed, but Isabella Shearing of City of Sheffield the fastest down this first 50.
Yeah, Isabel, they're working really hard, breathing every one, which is very difficult to hold, especially for females in that 200 butterfly. It requires a lot of upper body strength to be able to almost haul yourself up and over every single time and breathe. A lot of butterfly swimmers will tend to breathe every 2, every 1, so yeah, getting your head down helps.
That's an interesting point to make in terms of the butterfly. It is a 200 fly and such a tough event, the 200 metres butterfly. One of the toughest, I think. What do you think is the toughest individual race? I mean, obviously 1500 metres, 800 metres is an awful long way, but let's take those out of the equation, the 15 and the 8. What is the hardest individual race? Are you going to say your own race, the 400 medley?
Probably, yes. I think up there with the 400 medley is the 200 butterfly, but the 200 backstroke as well is so tiresome on the legs. It really, really hurts, and if it starts to hurt too early, then you're kind of in a whole world of bother. 200 butterfly as well, if you've gone too quick, that last 50 can almost feel like you're carrying all your other competitors on your back. So Isabella here gone out very fast and looks like she's really starting to hurt a little bit now.
She is. It's such a tough phase, this final, maybe 60 metres, just going into that final turn and then holding on. But having said, she was looking tired, the red hat there of Isabella Shearing. She's doing really well to hold on. She's a toughie, look at that. Gracious me. At the top there in lane 8, Poppy Mead of Daventio. Looks like she's just ahead of Alicia Stevens of Birmingham in 6 in that white hat. Stevens, breathing with 2 strokes to go. Who's got the touch? Really tight. Well, the clock hasn't stopped, so I can't actually tell you. It was really, really close. No times on the scoreboard, nothing on our TV screen, so we're going to have to wait for the judges to separate that one and give us the handheld times that the timekeepers have behind the blocks. But that was a really tight finish, was it not? The first heat, the women's 200 fly?
Yeah, Alicia there coming back really, really strong. I think also in lane 9 was finishing very well. So it's tough when you're on the kind of the opposite end of swimming, finishing well, or you're finishing really struggling. So yeah, good opening heat for the women's 200 butterfly.
I'm guessing they're just going to hold the meet while they fix the timing pads, because the clock is still running. So heat 3 of 8 heats done. Heat 4 now with Eddie Price of Mount Kelly, the fastest seed in 4. Bernholt of Barnet in 5, second fastest into this heat 4. And in lane 6, Sky Carter just did the 50 metres freestyle, I think. And now she's got the 200 fly. If that's right, that's a tough double, that, isn't it?
Yeah, she was a European Youth Olympic silver medalist in the 53 and a bronze in the 100 freestyle. So for her to come out of those sprint events, the 200 butterfly is a totally different event. And for me, this is almost the worst part when there's a delay, because you're maybe a little bit nervous, you might not have swam yet, and you're just eager to get going. So it's this bit here can throw a lot of swimmers off. They can maybe panic, they might not get in and swim well. So I would probably have sat down at this point, maybe just chilled out, took my goggles off, because you don't really know how long you might be hanging around for while they sort some of those technical issues out.
Indeed, I think that's fantastic advice, Amy. Just there are some seats there. You can just sit down and relax. We're still fixing the timing system from that first of the heat to the women's 200 metres butterfly. Having said that, I always found it interesting. If I did sit down, I would relax a little bit, sometimes a little bit too much, and then they blow the whistle, and then they want to get on with it quickly because there has been a delay. And you then have to be very, very sure of yourself and just take your time to get off the chair and just set yourself before you get on the back of the blocks.
Yeah, they kind of have to wait for you as well. Obviously, there's been a delay, and it's almost like the start of the race again. So I think we can see a couple of swimmers there, rightly so, grabbing a jacket, staying warm in lane 2, and those kinds of things are things that really help you to prepare when there is a delay.
Well, delay over. Heat 3, there's confirmation of the results, and it was Alicia Stevens of Birmingham winning it from lane number 6, Poppy Mead 2nd, and Zara Davies of Millfield 3rd. Just behind her, Shearing of Sheffield in 4th. So Heat 4, women's 200 fly. Everybody ready? Tracksuit tops about to come off. You can just see the third swimmer up. It's just at the back there, just taking her time, staying warm. Well done. It's Layla Flower of Leatherhead. Decided not to sit down, but just put the tracksuit over her shoulders just to keep her warm.
Yeah, it's really important that you do like a land warm-up to get warm in order to race well. So if you're stood around for 5 minutes, you're only going to get colder. So grabbing a jacket, taking a rest, relaxing is exactly all the right things to do.
Well, one thing they definitely won't do here is get cold. It's roasting in this pool. It really is. Maybe a little bit of water on your shoulders might make you a little bit more chilly, but the 50 freestyle sprinter is in lane number 6, and she's had a cracking start in that orange hat up there. I don't think I know any other swimmer who's a great 50 freestyle sprinter who also does 200 fly.
No, probably not. I could swim 200 fly, but if you asked me to swim 50 metres freestyle, it would take me about 5 minutes to get off the block and 5 minutes to get to the other end. So it's really tough. So to be able to do that and have that versatility, especially when you're so young, is very, very good, because you never know. She could end up being a very good 400 individual medley swimmer, not just a 50 freestyle swimmer.
Well, she's certainly a cracking 50 freestyle swimmer, and she's doing well on this first 75 metres. The orange hat up there in lane number 6 is Sky Carter. So lane 0, Constance Phillips of Nova Centurion. Right at the bottom in lane 0. Looks like she might be first to turn. So Constance Phillips closer to us, was the first at the 100 metres. Right in the centre there, Edie Price of Mount Kelly. Well, she's had a good first 100 Price. Interesting to see how she now starts this second 100 metres, because mentally, very much two 100 metres butterflies in this 200 fly. I used to find the second one easy to 100, and then suddenly, mentally, it killed me.
Yeah, I suppose the third 50 is really important, just to hold all that, the water that you're getting. You want to think about keeping that butterfly stroke really long, not letting that entry slip really wide, and she maybe just mispaced that in terms of the turn and the wall, so she was a little bit long into the wall, slowed down a little bit in that momentum, and now it's really hard to pick it back up again.
Well, Constance Phillips right at the bottom here, still going well, still going very well. And look at Sky Carter, the 50 freestyle sprinter. She's sprinting the final 50 of a 200 fly, coached by Doug Campbell there at Basildon and Phoenix. Himself a fantastic backstroker. British champion, 100 metres backstroke, 200 backstroke, really brilliant. So look at this final 50 from Sky Carter, well done. Well, That surely is super impressive. Really impressive from Sky Carter in lane number 6. 2:19.36. New lifetime best by 1.5 seconds for her. Well, if she can do 200 fly, Amy, 50 and 100 free suddenly becomes simple, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. Really, really good to see her not only going out well, but she paced that swim really well. She had enough energy to finish strong, so you could tell she hadn't gone out too fast, even though she was ahead of those girls. She settled into that really well. Built through that third 50, not giving too much away, and then just hammered into the finish.
So another little hold up. I'm guessing they're just checking for disqualifications because there is one, unfortunately. Lacey Roberts of Plymouth has been disqualified. So, yeah, the timing system's been fixed, but Sky Carter, no doubt about the winner. 2:19.36, her first time under 2:20. And that's a great swim from her. 2:20.8 was her best time. So now, heat 5 of 8. The last of the unseeded heats in this women's 200 fly. Ella Bloxage, City of Salford in lane 4. Holly Marshall in 5 of Repton. Olivia Hunter in 3 of Leicester. Quite fixed something here. I don't know if there's a little bit too much noise somewhere in the auditorium. They're just looking around to see if they can find. There's quite a few medicine balls. A lot of the swimmers using medicine balls as warm-up aids. And they've been slamming them down, but not necessarily knowing there's a start coming.
Yeah, it can be a little bit distracting. I suppose you're focusing totally on what you're about to do, and you're not really listening for anything other than the buzzer. So you want it nice and quiet in the arena.
So there's still a little bit too much noise, and there's quite a lot of land warm-ups going on around the pool, and I think the officials are just going to have a word.
All athletes do not use medicine balls at the start of the race. You see it interfering with the start, so please no medicine ball bouncing at the start of the race.
There we go. So the first time I think in my life I've heard no medicine balls to be used at the start of a race.
Yeah.
Just gone out on the announcements.
Yeah, it's such a shame because these swimmers now have got on the block once, got on the block again, so third time lucky, and staying calm and relaxed, but they'll be ready and eager to get in and race this 200 butterfly.
Here we go. Now silence for the start of heat 5 of 8, the last of the unseeded heats of the women's 200 fly. Ella Bloxage of City of Salford going in lane 5 with Holly Marshall of Repton in 6. Excuse me, Bloxage in 4. Marshall in 5. Olivia Hunter in 3. And possibly the best start coming up there in lane 7 from Barking. Professor Kinskate.
Yeah, Seren Salentile as well at the bottom of the screen has gone out very, very fast in lane 0. So she's breathed 2 down that first length, but it's 29.24, so probably a little bit faster than I would like to have seen her, considering her entry time is around that 2:20 mark. I think if you go out too fast in a 200 butterfly and you finish really slow, it's almost like you've got that wiggle room in the middle where you can work on. So hopefully here Seren hasn't give too much at the beginning and she can really hold that breathing pattern of 2s throughout this 200. And if she can do that, she'll be on for a fantastic time.
Well, you were saying that you wanted to see them breathing every 2 strokes to use less energy going up and down and use it all to go forwards. And she's doing that pretty well. Seren Salentile of Northumberland and Durham right at the bottom here. And as long as she can keep that body position nice and flat, so she's looking pretty good. Al Karas of University of Aberdeen in lane number 1 starting to chase her, but these 2 certainly ahead of the rest of the field.
Yeah, it's really positive. Still breathing 2s there. I think also in lane 1, he is breathing 2 as well. So as you start to get tired there, the things that make the difference, if you start breathing 1s every single stroke, then obviously you're going up quite a lot. But you do crave oxygen in a 200 metres butterfly, and that's often the thing that will drop first, and you'll kind of just give in and just breathe 1. So very good race skills to be able to practice that in training and then execute that in the race under pressure.
That's a great point, Amy, and it looks like Talentire actually still disciplined enough to go breathing every twos, which is great. She's staying relatively flat. She did slow the tempo of her stroke down at the end of that third 50, but she's maintained it well down this last 50. Siren Talentire of Northumberland and Durham, and is she going to get the touch? It's going to be tight. Oh, who gets it? Olivia Hunter came back very fast, 2:19.76 in lane 3 to get the touch from Talentire in 0 and Alcaraz in 1.
Yeah, very, very good finish from Olivia Hunter there. Out quite a lot slower than Seren, but really worked through those walls at the 150 mark, built down that last 50, and she was finishing strong, so she was finishing fast. And obviously in the butterfly in particular, you can win or lose a race basically based on that last recovery, so really good from her.
So Hunter wins heat 5, Talentire second, third Alcaraz. The first of the seeded heats, and Holly Hibbett. Well, I've got to tell you, I feel like I've been commentating on Holly Hibbett forever. She's not that old, you know. She really isn't. And swims at Bath Performance Centre. She's been a brilliant 200, 400, 800 freestyler, now turned to 200 fly. So lane 2 has withdrawn, Molly Chambers of Sheffield. So nobody in lane number 2, but a really good start. Look at that start right in the centre from Holly Hibbett of Bath. Super start.
Yeah, she's a very strong competitor, so I don't have too much doubt that if she goes out fast, she'll still be able to hold on to that. Obviously a fantastic 800 swimmer, fantastic 400 freestyle swimmer. We've seen her part of many a 4x2 relays in the past, so choosing to work a little bit more on her butterfly, as she is very, very strong and very good at that.
Betsy Wizard also going well of Northampton Swimming Club. Has been swimming in Arkansas under the tutelage of Neil Harper. Neil Harper coached there at Arkansas, University of Arkansas, the Razorbacks there. British Olympic captain back in 1988. Great backstroker, led off the backstroke on the medley relay in the final. And Betsy Wizard in 5, Holly Hibbett in 4. Hibbett gets to the wall first, 63.4. Very fast around the walls, and the technical elements of her stroke looking good. Had a little cheeky look to her right there, not quite sure why, because there's nobody there. It's, she looks pretty comfortable at the moment.
Yeah, she was very, very low around that wall, almost not fitting in a lot of time to breathe. Lots of swimmers will think, oh, the turn is an opportunity to get an extra breath in, but if you can just get in and out and round that very fast, then you're almost going back in the direction that you want to be going quicker. So really good from her. If we see if she does it again, very low around the walls, maybe a little bit long into that, maybe mistimed that finish slightly, but worked 7 meters there off the wall.
And that is tough on the third turn of a 200 fly, isn't it, to go the 7 meters. I'm allowed 15 underwater, but so hard to hold your breath and make sure that you can just trickle breathe out as you go along. Really good finish from Shannon Stott up there in lane 6 of Hatfield. She's having a fantastic final 50 meters, the red hat up there of Hatfield. So it's Holly Hibbett in lane number 4. She's going to get the touch, just I think she does. Hibbett gets it from Stott. 2/100ths of a second splitting those first two.
Yeah, you could see Holly there from about 6 meters in, just shorten her stroke a little bit. Maybe knew that if she was going to do 2 strokes, she'd be too long, so she chose to go with 3 slightly shorter ones, and it ended up being enough to get her hand on the wall first. So that's a lot of practice it takes to be able to recognise when you're maybe going to be short based on where you can see on the floor. So really good opportunity there for Shannon Stott. 0.02 finishing behind Holly.
And 0.04 outside of her lifetime best. 4/100ths of a second outside of her lifetime best from Shannon Stott. Actually, that's not true. It was a lifetime best. Excuse me, I was looking at Betsy Wizard's lifetime best. So it's a 1.7 second lifetime best for Shannon Stott. Super swim, well done. Excuse me. Heat 7 of 8 heats of the women's 200 fly. Kiana McInnes in 4. Perry in 2, Bailey in 3, Kiana McInnes in 4, Kira Schlossen of Edinburgh University in 5, Sophie Freeman 6, and the super distance freestyler silver on that 800 metres freestyle last night. New age group record for Amelie Bloxage of Salford. She goes in lane number 7. She did the 400 medley and didn't look like she had the best butterfly leg, but she's come into this 200 fly, so clearly has been listening to Amy in terms of working on those relatively weaker strokes to try and make them a little bit stronger. Yeah,
and it's a big ask for her to do that this morning after such a brilliant swim last night. And swimming a very heavy programme when you're young, yes, it's not easy, but you'll still be fatigued and still tiring that. So it's good to see her still doing lots of events, even though she's world class already for her age at freestyle.
Well, it was an outstanding 800 freestyle, wasn't it? Was it 8:39 or 8:38, I think, something like that she was last night for a 13-year-old. I think her birthday's on Sunday. So the last time she's going to have to break the age group records for the 13-year-olds, but she's destroyed this on the 800 and the 1500 freestyle. Here, 125 metres now, and the two big guns right in the centre. Kiana McInnes of Stirling and Chiara Schlossen of Edinburgh in 4 and 5 respectively.
Yeah, Kiana here really coming through. She's very good at being able to pick up that tempo. So although she breathed 2 down the first 50, she just was nice and long. She's turned on to that third 50 and just picked up that tempo, so maybe done 1 or 2 strokes more than she was. And now on this last 50, she does have the ability to be able to breathe every 3 because she practices that so much in training, but holding that water really well and just keeping that chin low and increasing that speed of her stroke into the finish.
Well, I'm watching very carefully here, and it's fascinating because she has increased the tempo of her stroke quite a lot. Normally that means you're slipping water, but she's holding water really well. Impressive from Kiana McInnes of Stirling, winning the second last heat of the women's 200 fly, 2:09.1. That's right on her lifetime best. The consideration time for the World Championships is 2:07.8. So she's got to go 1.3 seconds faster than that in the final this evening. And she could do a consideration time for the 200 fly for the World Championships. I think that's possible. Off that, she worked really well to 150, but then the acceleration was great down the last 50.
Yeah, it looks quite comfortable, and to finish well then, 2:09.12 is way ahead of the rest of the field. Chiara coming in second there, 2:11.46. And Yasmin Perry on that 2:14.27. So around that 2:14 mark was pretty quick in that heat. Looking to see what heat number 8 will finish, and those spots for final places up for grabs.
The black suit, the black hat. There she is, Great Britain's Laura Stevens. Outstanding 200 fly swimmer. I wonder if she's going to have a crack at the qualification time here. It's 0.8 of a second slower than a lifetime best, so she could do. You can't officially achieve it in the heat, but I was having a quick chat to the British senior guys earlier on, and they quite clearly would like you to do it in the heats if you can, just to settle you down, and it allows them to have a little bit more ability to consider you for the championships. But the rules very clearly say you've got to swim that time in the final.
Yeah, Laura here knows she's got the capability to be in and around that consideration time. She's world class, but obviously on her shoulder there, Emily Large has been to the Commonwealth Games before. She's capable of swimming in and around that 2:07 mark as well. So really good start here from Laura. Breathing every 1 in comparison to Kiana, who we just saw in the heat before, who breathed every 2. So Laura's obviously got a little bit more strength behind her to be able to hold that.
Well, the qualification time that she's looking for, consideration, is 2:07.81, and she's gone well down the first 100, 60.4. Well, she can do it off that, so I think that's pretty fast. Slightly surprised that Emily Large is with her as well. She looks good in 5, so 4 and 5 is Laura Stevens and Emily Large, and they're way ahead of the rest of the field here. But look how good Laura Stevens looks.
Yeah, she's just holding that lovely stroke, starting to maybe bring in a little bit more power from her legs. She's recently moved to the Loughborough Performance Centre, working with Dave Hemmings, so she's probably seen Freya and she's seen Abby swimming well already this week, and first time we've seen her in the pool, and she looks to be going really well.
Well, she looks fantastic, and I'd love to see her do the consideration time and the qualification time, 2:06.9 would be a lifetime best. It's not impossible, but she does look pretty good. She's working hard now. Apparently works extraordinarily hard in training. An absolute joy to coach. Part of that new girl power team that Dave Hemmings has got going, and it really is going well with Freya Colbert's medley and Abby Woods. And here, this is a super swim for Laura Stevens. 2:08, 2:07.62. She's inside the consideration time, 2:07.81. Well, the rules do say you've got to do it in the final, but that must be great for the selectors because she's done it at the championships. Yes, well done. It's only 0.6 of a second outside of her lifetime best. A little bit of a nod to the other competitors there, but she did work hard, and I would imagine she's got to be secretly delighted with that.
Yeah, indeed. And Laura knows that she is capable of being on those international teams. So for her, she could have chose to come into this morning and maybe go 2:10, but at the world stage, she can't do that. So she's clearly practicing, going well in the morning, and then coming back and fingers crossed going even faster tonight. But very good heat swim from her there.
So confirmation that Laura Stevens has qualified fastest for the final, and she's done it inside the consideration time, which is fantastic swimming. Kiana Mickin is second, 3 swimmers under 2:10, with Emily Large in third. 2:14.5 made that final. Top 16, Tankard's gone 2:19.22, so she'll be in the B final. Great that they've got 4 sets of finals here, Amy. It gives so many swimmers a chance to come back, and not only do you get to swim in your final, but for me it's that warming up, and I could be in the same lane as someone like Amy Wilmot, who is double Olympic finalist on the women's 400 medley, and you can watch them, you can see what they do, you can sit on their feet and annoy them if you want to.
Yeah.
if you're brave.
Yeah, it gives lots of opportunity for those junior swimmers, and I think they've even seen, the swimmers in the middle session will have seen the times that these guys have set to make junior finals or A and B finals. So those finals in the 200 butterfly were subject to no super duper stars coming in that sort of middle session today around lunchtime and swimming really well, but it gives everyone a good chance of something to aim for. And of course you want to be in that A final with Britain's best butterfly swimmers.
Well, you certainly do, and if you are in one of those lunchtime sets of heats, the slower heats set in a lunchtime session, if I were you, I'd nip down just to watch certainly the end of the session, because there's some cracking swimmers. In this, for example, the men's 100 metres freestyle, Duncan Scott's in there. Tom Dean, double Olympic champion. Well, the starter has to wait for them to be still, and it took a little bit of time for all 10 swimmers here to be still. And looks like a decent start there for Nicholas Finch of Chelsea and Westminster up there in lane 7, but the big boys right in the centre in 4. It's McKinnon of Glasgow, and he's gone off really fast down this first 50.
Yeah, there's not really a lot splitting them, and we'll see that across all heats this morning, regardless of time. The men's 100 freestyle in Great Britain is so competitive. Everybody wants to be part of that relay, whether it's a junior relay or one of those world relays. So yeah, very, very quick you'll need to be this morning.
They really do, and up there in 7, Nicholas Finch had a really good start, and he's coming back well as well. This is a good swim from him up in 7. Also good is Jack Skerry of Newhall in 2, but it looks like it might be 7. Lifetime best 51.9, or it was 51.2. Wow, 0.7 second lifetime best. And very Chad Leclos-esque, goggles round his neck, and that was a cracking swim.
Yeah, really good. Everyone kind of out in a line, but he had that little bit extra, and he had really good legs driving behind him to get into that wall. And we can already see how close this race is going to be. Just 0.01 split in second and third there. So 51.53 for third in that heat.
Well, Kieran Bird, the distance swimmer in lane number 4 in this 100 metres freestyle. It's heat 5, only 6 heats this morning. So there'll be a couple of heats in the slightly slower session, or the session for the slightly slower heats at lunchtime today. 3 heats of men's 100 freestyle will be in there. We've just had heat 4, this is heat 5. Bird in 4, Gaunt in 3. That was Kieran Bird in the Great Britain black hat with the Union Jack on it right in the centre, but probably the best start coming from Simmons Brown of Bath in lane number 2 in the blue hat down here.
Yeah, there's no chance in this men's 100 freestyle to hang about. You have to be up get those legs driving and get down the race. If you're 0.5 of a second behind already down the first 50, you're kind of swimming into everybody else's waves. And in the men's freestyle events, those waves can be enormous when you're at senior competition. So you want to be in line or just out, so you're missing all of that splash.
Well, an impressive 100 metres sprint here for Kieran Bird. I mean, he's a cracking 400, 800 metres freestyler, and he's having a really good go here. He was good to the 50 metres turn, and he's built this second 50, and this is impressive. Is he going to go sub 51? 50.73. Well, his best is 51.5, and he's gone 50.7. So a 7/10th lifetime best, nearly 8/10ths of a second for Kieran Bird.
I don't blame him wanting to be part of one of those 4x1, 4x2 relays, because Britain over the last couple of years has been so successful. So Matthew Ward there, junior swimmer, swam very, very quick in 51.0. So another 0.7 second PB from him. So Kieran and Matthew there on a lifetime bests.
Well, there is a junior qualification standard of 50.3, so let's hope that Matt Ward of Mount Kelly has a chance to go through to one of those finals this evening and have another crack at it, see if he can go a 50 point. Great swim from him. Heat 6, the last of the unseeded heats. Henry Baker of Stirling in 4. So there are a couple of junior swimmers. Jacob Whibley of Repton in lane number 1. He'll be looking at the junior qualification time. European juniors of 50.3, which is very fast indeed, but great start in 5 from Max Elkin of Swansea University.
Yeah, no lane 6, but down at the bottom of the screen in lane 2, going really well, it is Scott Gibson. So we saw him in the backstroke events over the last couple of days and really using his speed of the 50 to get down that first 50 of this 100 freestyle.
He does look very good indeed, doesn't he? He's started well, quick to the 50, but he's holding on. He's actually accelerating, Scott Gibson here. Well, this is impressive. He's going to be pretty close to sub 50. His lifetime best is 51.4. He's going to destroy that. Bring it home. Come on, Scott Gibson, 50.28. 1.1 second lifetime best. Good on you. Wow, 50.2. And that's an unseeded heat.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit more in there as well. He kind of got to that 95-metre mark and just kind of put in a couple of extra strokes for me. I think if he'd have been a bit more confident and just put his head down and really reached over the top, he could have finished on a full stroke with maybe one less. So great start from him, but I think there's a tiny bit more in there from him as well.
Well, that's really exciting. A 50.2 massive lifetime best and a couple of areas to improve straight away. So they are coming really thick and fast here. Heat 7, the first of the seeded heats, and we've got, well, Matt Richards in 5, Jacob Whittle in 4. Whittle in 4 owns the national age group record in the 13s, the 14s, the 15s, the 16s and the 17s. Age 14, he went 49.9. Jacob Whittle in 4. He doesn't hold the 18s record because that's held by the guy in lane 5, Matt Richards. Richards in the white hat. So the first of the seeded heats of the men's 100 metres freestyle. In 3s, Joe Litchfield, 4, Jacob Whittle, 5, Matt Richards, 6, Tom Watkin. And it looks like in lane number 5, Matt Richards has had a cracking start in that white hat.
Yeah, he has. I caught up with him quickly this morning and said he was excited to be here. He was enjoying swimming again and just really loving what he was doing. And he's off to a flying start already. Very, very fast around that wall. It's almost like lightning for those feet to be all the way around.
23.0 to his feet as well, and he looks very, very powerful indeed. This is impressive from Richards for a heat swim. Well, the consideration time for the 100 metres freestyle, can't believe we're talking about that in the heat, but we are. 48.05. 48.05 would be a new lifetime best. He's not going to be far off it, you know. 47.72. 47.72, just outside the British record of 47.6, but 47.72 is way underneath the consideration time for the World Championships, and that, well, talk about cats and pigeons, that's a fantastic swim from Richards.
Yeah, really, really strong swim there. He looked so good from the very beginning. He was off the block very fast. His underwater work was excellent, and he just looked like he kept building and building, which is unusual to see in 100 metres freestyle, but he was so strong right to the finish, and 47.72 is pretty quick to do in a heat this morning.
And I tell you what, that British men's relay, suddenly has got really exciting with Lewis Burris 47.6, and then there's Duncan Scott's on a 47.7, I think. Now we've got Matt Richards on a 47.7. Wow.
Yeah, I'd love to be part of that team, but we've seen lots of success in the 4x2 with this man in particular, Thomas Dean, being part of those relays. So the 4x1 for British swimming is looking very promising.
Well, he's not going to like a 47 in the heat before him, is he? Tom Dean. Double Olympic champion Tom Dean going in lane number 4. Within 3, it's Alexandra Cahoon. In 5, it's Ed Mildred. 6, Jack McMillan. Cam Booker up there in 8. And, well, Tom Dean, I bet the adrenaline shot through him when he saw that 47.7 in that early heat from Matt Richards. And this very quick. So Matt Richards was 23 flat to his feet. Let's see what Tom Dean is, 23.2, so just 0.2 of a second back.
Yeah, we know Tom Dean's obviously got a very good finish, but the waves behind these boys are enormous. If you'll get left behind, you just turn in straight into one of them.
Well, can we see another sub 48 seconds? This looks really good again from Tom Dean. And we've still got a massive final heat here. Really exciting for British swimming, this sprint freestyle. Let's see how close to 48 seconds he can get. 48.52, an easier second 50 there. Didn't need to do too much. He'll certainly be in the final. But my goodness me, this is getting very, very fast indeed. So I think 2 beat him after that first heat. I think Whittle was just slightly quicker. Certainly Matt Richards was, than our double Olympic champion Tom Dean from lane 4.
Yeah, across the board, slightly quicker in the heat before, but Tom Dean didn't look like he was putting too much effort down that last 25. Didn't look like he was really revving and kept that stroke nice and long. So 48.52, still a very good heat swim for him.
So Dean wins it, Mildred second, 48.52 wins it, so he'll certainly be through to the final. And look at this last heat. British record holder Burris goes in 4. Duncan Scott, Olympic champion, the first Brit ever in any sport to win 4 medals at the Olympic Games. Gold on the 4x2 free relay and a couple of silvers as well on the 200 medley, the 200 free and a relay. Scott in lane 5. Here he's in that orange suit.
Just getting a bit excited there. Jumps on the block a little bit too early.
Isn't that interesting? Most experienced guy in the field, up on the block a bit too early. He's ready to go, isn't he? 100 free, last heat. Lovely reaction to the gun from Lewis Burris. Really good start, though, in lane number 3. That was Dan Jones of Swansea University. Wonderful skills there. But now Burris into his stride and looks really good. So Burris in 4, Scott in 5. These two going well. Jones in 3 of Swansea looking very good.
Yeah, Burris really taking it out fast here. We've seen him beat the 50 metres and the 100 metre specialist. Turns 22.96, so faster than Matt Richards. But Duncan Scott just hanging on to that wave and Dan Jones the other side.
Well, they don't need to go that quick in the heats here, but let's have a look at this because the British record could well be on here, you know. This is a really, really interesting heat, and Burris looks good. Coming back now is Duncan Scott, and Scott having a crack. It looks like Burris easing off. Oh, he's eased off massively. Wow, 48.4. Well, it looked like Burris had a race of 2 halves there. Try and push the pace down to the 50, maybe up to the 75, and then just go easy. And he just strolled into a 48.100 free there.
Yeah, he did. He looked very comfortable there. Almost shut it down with kind of 10 metres to go. And Duncan Scott working all the way, but sometimes if you've not raced yet, you just want to get in and swim well this morning, and Duncan Scott there had a really good swim, but yeah, Lewis Burris looking super easy into the finish.
Wow, well that's going to be fascinating because Burris is not going to be in one of the centre lanes at all this evening. He's probably going to be in lane 6 or 2 for the final. So let's see. I think, well, certainly Matt Richards is going to be fastest seed in. He is 47.7, a brilliant time for him. Then Whittle, Scott, Dean, Burris only 5th. So 4, 5, 3, 6, lane 2 he's going to have. He's going to be an outside guy in that 100 free final. What a race that's going to be. 49.4s made the final. 47.7 fastest in.
Yeah, really looking forward to that tonight. We've seen, as I keep saying, such strong freestyle swimmers in the 200, but it's interesting to see some of these boys now really pushing through. Obviously, they could take 8 swimmers for that event to the World Championships this summer. So not only are those boys in the B final out the picture, but they've got something to strive towards, and 50.28 is still pretty impressive to make that B final.
Well, it certainly is, Amy, and another really exciting thing about that 100 freestyle is there's another full year until the Olympic trials. So get in one of those finals this year, watch what the big boys do, and just make sure that you practice, because that relay is starting to look very, very exciting, with Lewis Burris and 47.6, Duncan Scott, I think, around a 47.7, now Matt Richards a 47.7, and who would have thought scraps for the last place on that relay with Jacob Whittle, with Tom Dean. Goodness me, there's some brilliant swimmers just now scrapping for the final slot in that men's 4x100 free relay.
Yeah, and if you think James Guy wasn't in that event either this morning, so he's obviously a great option. If he makes the team in another event, we know he can perform, and he's an excellent relay swimmer. So yeah, there's 5 or 6 boys now pushing to be one of those top 4 places in the relay.
Well, from the super fast sprint freestyle as we go to 3 heats of men's 1500 metres freestyle. There are 6 heats in total. The last one will be swum in the final session this evening because it's a heat declared winner. So the final heat will have 10 swimmers in that final heat. Normally in the final session you only use 8 lanes, but because it's still one of the heats, they'll be using 10 lanes for the final of that final heat of the men's 1500 metres freestyle. Heats 1 and 2 will be in the session at lunchtime today, so this is heat 3. So we'll be seeing heats 3, 4 and 5. And hopefully fairly shortly Alan Lynn will be joining us if he's around. I had a quick chat with him earlier and he said he'd come down and have a chat with him, Alan Lynn, so hopefully we'll be hearing all about the youth developments and how we're getting swimmers through that programme from youth into senior. So first 100 of this, the first heat of the men's 1500 that we're going to see, heat 3. And in the centre, in lane number 5 and lane 4, that's Josh Denholm of Newcastle and Daniel Cox of Wickham District. It's from the frenetic 100 metres to this lovely long languid stroke, efficient stroke, but they've got 30 lengths of the pool, 27 to go still at this next turn. Yeah, the 1500 metre freestyle is one of the, well, it is the longest distance we have in the pool, and pacing in our distance events is super important. It's a long way to go if you make a little bit of a mistake at the beginning and then really, really struggle towards the end. So you've also got to have a lot of confidence in your ability and in your training so that you know you can back up the last 500 and swim as well as you can in the middle 500, and obviously the first 500 you kind of want to just find your feet. So that's how I used to swim 1500 metres freestyle once upon a time. Once upon a time, I did a 1500 once. My first and my last. My mum said it was as a trial for the British team, age, I think it was 13 or 14. It was a trial held at the International Pool in Wigan. And I was bribed with a family bar of chocolate by my mother if I would do the 1500. I think she thought I was a little bit better than I actually was on the 1500 freestyle, and I did it, and I was in bed for 3 days afterwards. 3 days afterwards, I was utterly exhausted. And very quickly decided it wasn't for me, but bizarrely, the first race I ever did for Great Britain was 400 medley. Very, very interesting. You kept that one quiet. We've been here 2.5 days, and you only just say that your 400 medley talents are coming through. Well, Amy, the truth is, I was so bad on breaststroke that I had to fake it. And they do say fake it till you make it, and I just never made it on the 400 medley. But my fly back and free, I was fine. I was, Commonwealth record holder on fly, British junior record on back, British record holder on freestyle. My breaststroke was utterly appalling, and I just couldn't do it. And I've been listening to you and your stories about, well, I wasn't so good at butterfly, so I had to go at the 200 and ended up getting a medal at the Commonwealth Games. And you just go, well, hold on a second, your weak event, you have a crack at it, learn it a little bit, have a go, and you get a medal at the Commonwealth Games. My breaststroke, I think I told you the other day, I was lucky enough to train in Arizona State University, where Phelps' coach Bob Bowman now is. wonderful pools. We had 3 separate pools outside, and we had 6 coaches. One of them was a brilliant stroke coach, a big guy called David Stacey, and he took me one-on-one for a week, breaststroke, individual, one-on-one. Let's get Andy's breaststroke good because his fly back and free are fine. Let's get his breaststroke good, just fake it and life will be good. And I went slower, so embarrassed, slower at the end of the week than I did at the start of the week. I just couldn't do it. Amy, I nearly cried. I was so embarrassed and I felt I'd let the guy down because I just simply couldn't do it.
Yeah, breaststroke is so technical, and that's why some of the world swimmers are so fast and everybody else is kind of so far behind. So it is one of the trickiest strokes to get right, and a lot of junior swimmers really struggle with the breaststroke, and especially when they're growing and changing shape, and that's often when you can maybe turn your hand at a different event. So I know a couple of swimmers when I was younger that actually swam like 50, 100 breaststroke, and then Ellie Faulkner went on to swim 1500 freestyle and 800 freestyle. So a lot of these swimmers here might not necessarily be distance swimmers when they're older, but if they're training hard, they're working on a lot of that endurance in their sessions now. Practicing how to pace a 1500 is obviously a very good skill, and it's very difficult to be able to be that disciplined for that many lengths. So we might not see some of these boys swimming 1500 freestyle forever, but it'll definitely set them up well for other events as they progress through their junior and then international career. Fantastic.
Really fantastic. Well, I was very interested listening to you yesterday when you were saying, when you were talking about concentrating on a weaker stroke and actually moving it forward. And my story about I tried and I couldn't do it, well, very, very importantly, you tried and you could, and you tried and you had excellent coaching. It worked really well. And just the story that you told about that 200 flyer where it wasn't quite so good, really worked on it and it became one of your strengths. And it's a joy to hear, but so important for age groupers to listen to stories like that. You can concentrate on a weaker stroke in your medley and make it better. A weaker stroke in anything, really.
Yeah, I ended up doing quite a solid, intense block in that. And then I also went on to do some distance events. So I swam the 800 meters freestyle, I swam the 1500 freestyle, all to kind of help me improve that 400 medley. And we saw Freya Anderson in the 800 not Freya Anderson, sorry, Freya Colbert in the 800 a little bit later in the week. So it was good to see her do both and do both very well. So she's practiced a lot. So we're coming up now to around the 700 meter mark. So this is a point for me where I used to kind of lose count a little bit. It's very difficult to go 500, 500s, 500s and keep that pace going. But out in front, swimming very well so far, it is the swimmer in lane number 5, Josh Denham from Newcastle. So there's still 18 laps of this race to go. And as you see him coming now into the turn, there is that lap counter there. So sorry, there's now 17 lengths to go, as obviously he's turned at the other end. And it's working on those turns, so not being too lazy around the walls, which is very good to see, because those things over a 1500 meter race can make a massive difference. Obviously 29 turns is a lot to do, 29 sloppy turns when you could do 29 good turns, and just looks really comfortable through this middle part of the race. This is the part for me where I'd make sure I was really trying to hold pace. So if that meant I had to kind of increase my stroke rate a tiny bit or pick up the legs just ever so slightly in order to hold that repeat split that I was wanting to work on, I'd maybe try and think about that. But a lot of the time it's all about counting. So I'd be counting my strokes, working out where I was in the race, how many kicks am I going to do, rather than thinking about how much it's starting to hurt, to be honest.
And Amy, you talk about counting strokes. So what happens if you do one more stroke on a length or one less stroke on a length? What happens then?
I might then think about, if I've done too many, trying to lengthen out the next length, because I know I'm probably getting a little bit short and a little bit tired. If I'm thinking about swimming faster and I maybe increase one stroke, then I'm not going to worry too much about it. But if I'm trying to hold exactly the same time every single length and I know I'm increasing my stroke, I'm probably getting a little bit sloppy, so I've got to be a little bit more diligent. Maybe add another kick off the turn so that I'm then back on that kind of stroke count. And if that then starts to creep into the next length and then the next length, then I might think, right, I now have to bring in my legs a bit more in order to help my arms a bit, because I am getting a little bit tired. So the distance events, there's a lot of time, and you can just think, I'm swimming really bad, it's going all wrong, I'm increasing this, and I'm making a mess here. But it almost gives you time to correct things, to work on things, and there's so many things that could be going through your head. You've got to be really diligent and not just turn off and think, well, I've still got half of the race left, I'll just keep going and then sprint the last 50 metres, because we quite often see that, and that's when swimmers maybe could have gone a lot faster because they had a bit more in that middle, but they just didn't quite know how and where to use it. So it is Josh Denham there on your screen. That lovely long stroke in lane 5. Starting to make a little bit of a charge though in lane 1 is Joseph Stout. So he's using this middle part of the race. Still 12 laps to go. So still in that middle 500 metre phase, but it does look like he's working a little bit hard in comparison to Josh there in the centre, who's just reaching out. Lovely long levers, lovely long pull and push phase of his stroke underwater.
So 550 metres to go in this first heat that we've seen. It's heat 3 of 6 heats of the men's 1500 metres freestyle. And Josh Denham looks really good in 5 for Newcastle. Lovely, long, languid stroke, surfing off that arm every time he puts it forward. Decent push through, a little bit shorter on his right arm push than the left arm, but still looking good. He's gone just over 64 seconds per 100 so far. So this is going to be the 1,000-metre turn. And Josh Denham going over first in 10:45.1. Second to turn is Joseph Stout of City of Salford. Actually trains with William Bloxage, a wonderful distance freestyler, and I think it may be that the last person that the young 13-year-old girl's got to catch up now is in her team is Joseph Stout in lane number 1. Such a great swimmer she is. Set new national age group records in the 13-year-olds, but went faster than the 14-year-olds and the 15-year-olds, I think. So lane 5, it is Josh Denham of Newcastle swim team, looking really strong. I'd like to see him just pick up the tempo of his stroke a little bit, maybe. He does look very long and very strong, kicking reasonably well, but it is quite a slow tempo.
Yeah, he looks very nice and controlled still. I suppose we can think the last 500 metres, we're nearly there, but it's still quite a long way in this race. So Josh Denham here, still leading the way. He's doing a lot of this hard work on his own as well, which is really difficult in the 1500 freestyle. So still stretching out, maybe starting to increase the legs a tiny little bit, but really balancing out that stroke at the front. And quite often we see kind of two different extremes in distance swimming. We see very scrappy, or shall I say very fast stroke rate, very high, versus very slow, long strokes. And Dan Jervis is a classic example of that lovely technique as he just reaches and reaches, and we'll see him coming up later tonight in that fastest heat.
Well, he really is the class of British distance freestyle swimming, isn't he? I think he's won the last 8 national titles in the 1500 metres freestyle. It's such a shame we didn't see him at the Commonwealth Games representing Wales. He got COVID right before it, and it just absolutely knocked him sideways. Couldn't possibly do 1500 metres freestyle with COVID at the Commonwealth Games. But such a shame, because he was ready for it and ready to go. Looking forward to seeing him in that final heat tonight.
Yeah, I think Dan's always really hard on himself as well, so fingers crossed tonight he'll be happy with his performance. But missing out on the Commonwealth Games, it's kind of a home game for him. I know he was really disappointed, but he's probably thought about his long-term goals, about the World Championships this year, and especially the Olympic Games next year. So sometimes athletes have to make very tough decisions, like Kathleen Dawson with injury, like Dan Jervis, both missing out on the Commonwealth Games. So fingers crossed next year at the Olympics, when it really matters and when they will want to be at their best, those two athletes are back on form. I have no doubt. So really looking forward to seeing Dan Jervis tonight.
Really are. Well, Josh Denholm's still going well for Newcastle and that black cat up the top, but starting to catch him a little bit down in one is Joseph Stout of City of Salford. And he's gone well. He's got a good fast turnover down here in that yellow hat. A decent turnover, maybe more of a typical distance freestyle, would you say, sort of with that metronomic tick, tick, tick going on, whereas the long, languid stroke up there in the centre of Josh Denholm starting to get caught up with, what, 200 metres to go, I think? Is that 200 metres to go in this first heat of 1500 freestyle? I wonder if Denholm is going to hold off Stout with 4 lengths to go.
Yeah, it's kind of two extremes here. We've obviously got a very hard worker who just believes that his technique and the way he swims will carry him. And as I said, slightly higher stroke rate, swims a little bit more like David Davis, our British record holder. He had a very high stroke rate, almost looked like it was costing him a lot, and it was very difficult. Versus when you see Dan Jervis tonight, not much slower, but definitely a lot longer and more controlled stroke rate. So we're seeing both examples here in this first heat of the 1500.
Right. Actually looking at each other now as well. Look at this, right, head to head with 100 metres to go at this turn. This is brutal. 28 lengths completed at this turn, 2 lengths to go. And right from the start, Josh Denholm with Newcastle has led, but it looks like right at the bottom here in lane number 1, the yellow-hatted Joseph Stout just taken over the lead now by, what, about 0.2 of a second. They hear the bell denoting 100 metres to go in this first heat that we will see of the 1500 metres freestyle, heat 3. 6 heats in total, 3, 4 and 5 in this session, and then the final heat will be in the final session tonight, starting at 6 o'clock. So Denholm led most of the way, but Stout now starting to go a little bit more to a sprint, that slightly faster turnover, Amy.
Yeah, he's using his legs as well, a lot more on that penultimate length there. I think he's done enough to carry himself down this last 50 metres. He's really working hard, really driving those legs behind him. So great to see at the end of such a grueling race. It's not always easy to find something extra at the last length.
Well, Joseph Stout looks really good down here from City of Salford. Teammate of Emily Bloxage, the 13-year-old. And he's showing him how to do it on this distance meters freestyle, coached by his dad. Great swim, super swim. 16:16.81. His lifetime best was 16:35, and he's just gone 16:16. Wow, fabulous swim. Second was Josh Denholm, 16:17, so that's a new lifetime best for him by a full second. But Stout, what a 1500 freestyle that was from lane 1.
Yeah, really good swim from him there. In one of those outside lanes, the race there very split, so all of these boys pretty much swimming on their own, so thinking of their own race plan and not really letting the other swimmers around them affect them too much. And big smiles at the end of his race, because a 17 second PB is a great way to start. In fact, if I could do my maths correct, it was a 19-second personal best I'm hearing from Andy, so maybe I'll just leave the sums to him. So really good swim, and no doubt that yes, it was tough and yes, it was hard, but when you see personal bests like that on the scoreboard, it makes all the training and all the hard work worth it. So very good swim.
Well, while you were talking, Amy, I've got my calculator out. 19-second lifetime best for the winner of that heat 3, Joseph Stout. His dad must be delighted, his coach as well. Really good swim also from Denholm of Newcastle. So that's heat 3. 3 heats this morning. So the middle heat this morning, this is heat 4 of 6 heats of the men's 1500 freestyle. Joseph Kingsland of Nova Centurion in lane 4. Samuel Lander of Mount Kelly in 5. Dan English, University of Birmingham, 6. And we're going to have some guests in the commentary box coming in. Really delighted to have some great chats with the guys who are in charge of the future of British swimming, certainly from the development end and the junior end. We'll just set this up and start. There's nobody in lane number 7, so Luke Booth has withdrawn from Rotherham Metro, but the first 50 metres of this heat 4 of the men's 1500 metres freestyle, and it looks like maybe the red hat in lane number 6 is Dan English of University of Birmingham, but nice and comfortable down this first 75 metres or so. The white hat In the centre there in lane number 5 is Samuel Lander of Mount Kelly. Born in 2006, the 16-year-old. Lifetime best of 16:20, looking good. But right at the top there, Rafe Shafi of Repton. He's had a couple of events so far. Rafe up in lane number 9. Started off very quickly in that orange hat of Repton, and he's first to turn up 100, sub-60, the only swimmer sub-60. Well, I've promised you some superstars to join us in the commentary box, and I'm delighted to be joined by Kevin Renshaw. Kev is the Performance Pathway and Distance Lead. That's one heck of a title. Welcome to the commentary box, Kev. Kev, what does that Performance Pathway and Distance Lead for British Swimming, what does that actually mean?
So I work across junior development, really. I mean, that's the crux of what I do. I guess I'm trying to ensure that we've got a pathway of future Olympic athletes. So
are you the guy who's in charge of getting the juniors through to seniors? Is that the key target?
I work with Alan Lynn, who I think you've got on some point today as well. I work with Alan to effectively work with the juniors, work with their coaches, work with the clubs, and ensure we've got a pathway and a pipeline of talent coming through for beyond Paris.
And so you were saying, obviously, you're in charge of the pathway. I mean, are you working more with the swimmers, or are you working more with the coaches, or are you working on a regional level to set the targets? At what level do you set the targets, and how do you interact to make sure that pathway is, one, clear to everyone so everyone understands it, and then actually goes from talking about it on paper to actually being able to deliver the performance that gets those youngsters through the process into senior swimming?
Yeah. So I work with both. I work with coaches and athletes, but also have the bulk of the swimmer pathway is with the home nations as well. British swimming are the high performance end, so we've got responsibility, I guess, for around 55 athletes. The home nations obviously are a huge part of what happens in terms of pathway. So I work with the home nations to ensure and try to make sure that their bits are aligned with our bits, and it's a partnership. The home nations have some very good ideas on what to do with swimmer pathway. They're all holding regular camps where they're getting lots of swimmers together, lots of coaches together. Myself, Nathan Hilton, who's just come on board with British Swimming, and Alan, we interact with all of those. But yeah, working with swimmers and coaches is equal importance.
Well, we will hearing from Alan Lynn in a second, the head of performance development. So, yeah, your title is Performance Pathway and Distance Lead, and I'll just update you in terms of this race, in terms of distance, because it is heat 4 of 6 of the men's 1500 metres freestyle. And right at the top there, that orange hat of Rafe Shafi of Repton, looking very good indeed. But interestingly, lanes 0 and 9 going well. So Shafi right at the top there for Repton. Started off very well in that orange hat, but closer to us, Alexandra Volkovoy of City of Salford, also going very well. And in fact, he was just first to turn at that 400 metres mark. So Volkovoy, Kodaka of Leeds in lane number 1. So 0 and 1 both going well, as is Shafi of Repton up there in lane number 9. So Kev Renshaw, Performance Pathway and Distance Lead. Tell me about the distance lead. I mean, if you're going to be talking to the coaches and talking to the swimmers about increasing their performance and the quality of the distance swimming in Great Britain, I mean, does that mean do more distance, do more 1500s, do more 5000s, do more 10,000s? What is it? Work harder, do more distance? How's it work?
It's not as extreme as do more 10,000s and 5,000s, but it is
Goodness.
Do more work. Yeah, these events. We've had such strong tradition of success in them, and then we've kind of drifted away over the last few years. So that distance lead part of my long job title was added just last February, and I was given by Bill and Chris the remit to try to turn things around, and I think we've done that. We've turned things around. We're starting to get some momentum, and we've got some good younger ones that are coming through. I mean, in here, young Karosh here, he's a 16-year-old. He's been involved with 2 of our distance camps that we've held. Last one was in February of this year. So we're always looking for who we can influence in terms of the coach and athlete. And again, going back to the Home Nation kind of collaboration and work with Swim England. They've got a big distance initiative that I help them put together, where they're dealing with a much bigger cohort of people than what we can with British swimming. So, yeah, I think it's been pretty effective so far. But yes, there's no shortcut to being a good distance swimmer. There's none. Andy, you know yourself, there's no shortcut to being really successful in sport. But in distance swimming, there's, yeah, it comes down to real hard work.
Well, it certainly does. And talking of hard work, Alexander Volkovoy of City of Salford, closest to us in that yellow hat, saw his teammate win the first heat that we've seen this morning. Joseph Stout, he looked very good indeed, winning that first heat that we saw. And Volkovoy looking good here in this heat 4 of 6 in the men's 1500 metres freestyle. He's in lane 0. And the young Korosh that you were talking about is Korosh Kodaka of City of Leeds. He's in lane number 1 with that yellow hat just up from lane 0. He's just 15 years of age and he looks very good. And right at the top there, Rafe Shaffi still going well as well. But this is going to be, what, the 700 metres turn. So they're going to be halfway through this second heat of the men's 1500 metres freestyle. At the next turn, the one after that one there, is going to be the halfway mark in this heat 4 of 6 of the men's 1500 metres freestyle. So Kev Renshaw, you are the performance pathway and distance lead. You work with the coaches. How much coach education versus swimmer education is the balance between your role? How much do you focus on the coaches and what they do versus actually working directly with the swimmers?
It's probably weighted more that we work with the coaches in that regard, but on the 2 camps that we've done since I came into post for the distance lead, we've added some swimmer education in as well. The camps are a week long and we try to give them 2 educational pieces within there. We don't want far too much overload information, so we've kind of, what's the first thing we need to know? We need to know about fueling properly for training for these types of events. So that was a key piece that we put in on camp 1.
So let me just stop you there. So you talked about fueling and correct fueling for a distance guy. So tell us a little bit about what sort of education you would give to a distance performance camp. What would you tell the athletes for distance swimming? What kind of fueling would you say? And how would that be different to the sprinters?
I don't think it's massively different with what the sprinters in terms of what it is you eat. It's just because obviously it's the amount. Like
loads.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely, loads. And particularly the older they get and they increase their distance as they are getting older, the calorie intake is pretty high.
And is it loads of bags of crisps or is it loads of lean pasta? What kind of,
yes.
what are you thinking?
Yes to both, pasta. Yes to, well, actually, anything's better than nothing, but then you start to work towards performance nutrition. So pasta's a great source of carbohydrate. And, it's a high carbohydrate and fat burning event, the distance event. So it's getting quality nutrition and plenty of it.
Yeah.
Which the parents might not want to hear because they start eating them out of house and home.
Well, there we go. Well, you've heard it from Kevin Renshaw. A bigger bowl of pasta is the way forward, and it looks like Alexander Volkovoy of the City of Salford down here in lane 0. Well, he must have had a fair amount of pasta. He looks very good indeed. He's got a great engine on him. Look, those legs still going, still driving away. And he looks really good. So this will be the 950 mark, I think, for this heat 4 of 6 of the men's 1500 metres freestyle. Volkovoy over first at that 950 turn for City of Salford. Young Korosh Kodaka of City of Leeds second to turn down here in the white and the yellow hat again, just in the second lane, lane 0 and lane 1. And still going well is Rafe Shaffi of Repton, right at the top of the slot, but really interesting stroke. So if you get a week of training camp for distance freestyle. You do a little bit of nutrition. What else would you do?
The first camp we did how to look after your shoulders. They're going to be doing a lot of rotation work in the pool as they build up distance, so how to look after and create robust and resilient shoulders. So they were the main two: nutrition, shoulder health.
Right, so come on then, the obvious next question: how do you look after your shoulders if you're a distance swimmer?
That has to be done on dry land, obviously. So
Really?
preparation before getting in the water, resetting things afterwards. So lots of TheraBand work. So we obviously get our experts. So we bring physios in to talk to the swimmers on that. We bring our nutritionists in to talk to them on nutrition. But yeah, it's priority of a land program for a distance swimmer really is to create a robust athlete, to keep them in there, to keep them in the water. That's where the real work is done, and whether the success or failure is going to happen. Whereas we know when we look, we've just seen the 100 freestyle, and you can just see that there's a very different focus on what land work looks like for those guys compared to these guys.
Well, certainly that's a sprint freestyle program looking fantastic with Matt Richards is 47.7. As a pathway guy, he's gone through the pathway.
Yep.
You are head of performance pathway, and someone like that is such a great example for British swimming. If you listen and you're a part of your program and everyone come together, I presume that's what you're looking for coaches to actually work closely with you to allow people like Matt Richards to come through?
Absolutely, and Matt was, he's been within the Hours and Swim England Swim Wales pathway since he was like 14, 15-year-old. So he has just done real good steps all along. And obviously next to him was Jacob Whittle, another young guy who's come right through the pathway from 14-year-old. So yeah. And one of the things, talking about the 100 freestyle, I'm not 100% certain, but I think that's the first time we've ever needed sub 50 to get in a B final in Britain. That's the first time we've had 16 guys sub 50.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
And you know what else is really exciting? We're getting fairly close to requiring under 48 to make the men's 4x100 free relay.
Yes.
We may well have 47 points. How exciting is that?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I'm trying to do with distance swimming, it's not that long ago that sprint freestyle in this country wasn't great, with the exception of a Mark Foster and a Ben Proud. And that 100 freestyle cohort now, so exciting.
It certainly is. Well, 100 freestyle is exciting. Volkovoy of Salford still going well down the bottom here. His engine's working very, very well indeed. He's got 4 lengths left at this turn. This is the 1,300 metres turn, and this heat 4 of the men's 1,500 metres freestyle. Volkovoy in 0. Kodakarev leads in 1.
And Volkovoy at Salford. Previous heat was won by Joseph Stout of Salford and Amelie Bloxage at Salford. So, and John Stout, the coach there, knows what he's doing with developing distance swimmers. He was the age group coach of David Davies way back, who is still our British record holder for 1,500.
Fantastic. So we don't have an awful lot of time left in this heat here, Kev. So Kev, if you've got a message out there to British swimmers and British swimming and the coaches of Great Britain in terms of your role as performance pathway and distance lead, what would it be? What would you like the British coaches and swimmers to be thinking of and to be doing with you and for you, and in order to get it moving?
I think there's no shortcut. It's going to take a lot of hard work, collaboration, and working together. And I'm there to help. Anyone and everyone, I'm there to help. So if you anyone that's got a good distance swimmer who wants a little bit of advice, pick up the phone, drop me an email. Yeah.
Very good, very good. And I'm sure you've got your eyes on a fair few there. But thank you so much for joining us on this Heat 4 of the 1,500 metres freestyle.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Kev. That's Kevin Renshaw, performance pathway and distance lead for British swimming. And super listening to him during that Heat 4 of 1,500 metres freestyle and what he's doing to try and get the youngsters through from junior into senior and getting the distance program going really well. And the final 50 metres of this 1500 metres freestyle heat 4. Volkovoy of Salford looking very well with about 25 metres to go. Closest to us in lane number 0. Kodako of Leeds, a 15-year-old in lane number 1. And these two guys, well, they will be way under the lifetime best, that's for certain. Volkovoy's lifetime best 16:13, and he's just gone, what, 16:6? 16:05.87. So 8-second lifetime best for Alexander Volkovoy of City of Salford, and his teammate just set a 19-second lifetime best to win the first of the 1500 metres freestyle heats that we saw, Joseph Stout. So some super swimming. Volkovoy wins it. Kodako is second, 16:11. New lifetime best for him by 13 seconds. Third was Rafe Shafi of Repton. Fourth, Cameron Carlos of Barnet. Well, fascinating chat there, Amy. I'm not sure how much you were able to hear, but really exciting the work that Kev Renshaw was doing as the performance pathway and distance lead for British swimming.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see these British swimmers coming through in these 1500 metre events. Kev Renshaw's been part of that distance programme in Great Britain for a long time, was the coach on some of my first Olympic teams. So, yeah, he's been a really, really positive part of British swimming. And as we've said, I think he mentioned City of Salford. From what I could hear, they've had a fantastic meet so far, and the winner there in Heat 4 is that City of Salford swimmer at 16:05, and, yeah, massive lifetime best.
So John Stout, the coach there, he's coaching some cracking distance swimmers, isn't he? He really is. His son won the previous heat. Volkovoy went a little bit faster there. Amy Bloxage, the 13-year-old absolute superstar. So heat 5, the last of the heats that we will see this morning of the 1500 metres freestyle. The fastest seed is in lane number 4, Michael James Flynn of City of Glasgow. Nobody in lane number 1, so Oliver Rowe of Mount Kelly has withdrawn. Michael James Flynn of City of Glasgow swim team is the fastest seed, and that blue hat's right in the centre. Started well, maybe the fastest of the field, Luke McGee of Northumberland and Durham Performance. 17-year-old in lane number 3. Just setting the pace down this first length of the 1500 metres freestyle. 30 lengths of the pool, it's an awful long way. Don't get too excited too quick. And it does look like Luke McGee of Northumberland has started well. Well, I'll tell you what, when we get the superstars in the commentary box, I've been delighted to be sitting next to Amy Wilmot, our triple Olympian, 2 times Olympic finalist in the 400 medley, Commonwealth champion she was in the 400 medley. We just heard from Kev Renshaw, the performance pathway and distance lead for British swimming. And I'm now absolutely delighted to be joined by Alan Lynn. He is Head of Performance Development for British Swimming. What a title, Alan. Welcome to the commentary box.
Thank you.
So, Head of Performance Development for British Swimming. Tell me what does that mean? What do you do? When you get out of bed in the morning, what do you do, Alan?
Oh, jeez, I'm not sure I want to share that with the world on live stream.
Skip the first bit and just tell us what you do at work.
Yeah, so my responsibilities are across swimming, diving and para-swimming. I managed Kevin and Nathan, Jackie Marshall, Julian Bellin, who's in diving. So their job is their pathway leads, like Kevin has just explained, I think, in his role. And I sit across that, if you like, in terms of making sure we have some talent, some potential coming through across those 3 disciplines. Mainly our horizon is LA and beyond rather than Paris. But of course, we're still interested in some talent and some potential coming through in the next 18 months.
So you're really focusing on getting those youngsters through from what, the age group through to the senior, or are you also involved in the senior side as well?
I am, as part of the Olympic swimming leadership group, but the main responsibilities, as you say, are to ensure that there's a pathway, a pipeline, if you like, of people coming through in all 3 disciplines.
All right. And how long have you been in the post? Relatively recently?
I started the day after this championships last year. Okay. The first task was to finish the old job, which was with Scotland, to pick the Commonwealth Games team for Birmingham. So yeah, I'm just about a year in.
Fantastic. Well, I have to say, when I heard that you were being appointed, I was very excited indeed, because what you've done so far for British swimming and certainly Scottish swimming has been really tremendous. So in terms of the focus there, I mean, we have traditionally had some pretty good age groupers in Great Britain, but it seems to be really tough to get a really good age grouper to go through and actually start delivering on the world stage as a senior. What sort of things are you interested in making sure those youngsters, those juniors are able to do to make it through and actually start delivering on the international stage as a senior?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not any work that I do or even my team do. It's in conjunction with the home nation, so Scotland, England, Wales and Northern Ireland, particularly in para, to ensure that what we do is we add value to what the home nations are doing. So whether that's with squads, with camps, opportunities for competitions, that what we do is to, as well as select teams for junior events, add value with the programme that we can offer. Competition abroad, World Cups, that kind of thing, where we expose people to the arena in an environment where we hope that they're going to learn and make that transition successfully.
So you sort of pick up on some of the juniors and say, well, maybe it would be good for, on an individual basis, maybe it would be good for that person to maybe go to the States and go and swim against the best in the world over there, or maybe go on a training camp at altitude. I mean, is that the kind of thing you're thinking you're doing?
Exactly. So it complements what we know is going on successfully with the senior programming. So exposing some of those younger transitioning swimmers to exactly that. We took a bunch of girls to the Berlin World Cup last October. We took a bunch of young transitioning boys to the World Cup in Indianapolis. And as we're watching some of that talent in the pool just now, we're hoping to facilitate and support their improvement. Of course, we have funding available through the World Class programme, which we select every year in early September, and that also helps them in their home programmes if they're not in the national performance centres, to enable them and their coaches to get the support that they need.
Very interesting. Let me just update everyone on this particular race for a second. So this is heat 5 of the 1500 metres freestyle. That was the 450 metre turn. So 1050 still to go in the final heat that we will see this morning. The actual last heat is this evening in the final session, and Michael James Flynn of City of Glasgow looking good in that blue hat and the red suit right in the centre, just inside those yellow lane lines coming into the 500 metres mark. 20 lengths to go at this turn. Also going well right with him is Luke McGee of Northumberland and Durham, and in 2, Sean McCann of City of Leicester. So Flynn, McGee, McCann, all turning 5.14s to 5.15s, just 15/100ths of a second splitting those three at that turn. Also starting to come into the picture is Jack Munsey of University of Stirling. So Alan Lynn, Head of Performance Development. I attended your presentation the other day, which was to the coaches and some of the officials right before the meet started, and I was fascinated to see just how many. You are focusing a lot on getting those juniors up to seniors. There's a massive amount of meets that you can be selecting swimmers for this summer outside of the senior guys. Obviously there's a senior world championships, but I think there were 4 or 5 junior meets. How do you go about trying to work out who's best to go to which meet, and which meets you decide to focus on and which meets maybe you decide to de-emphasize a little bit?
Yeah, just for clarity, we have the World Championships. As we know, we have the new LEN 23 and under championships, which will close the season in mid-August. We have the European Juniors, which happens every year. We have the Youth Olympic Festival, which is a multi-sport event, which is at the end of July. And of course, all the home nations have the Commonwealth Youth Games in Trinidad and Tobago, so Trinbago as they're calling it for short. So
beautiful place. Can I go there? Do you need a commentator?
There's a list as long as you're people who want to go.
Surely not. It's
just like there was when it was in the Bahamas a few years back. Yeah, nobody wants to go to Birmingham, but they all wanted to go to Trinbago.
I tell you what, Birmingham was fantastic. They put on a great show for the Commies, didn't they? They really did. Yeah,
absolutely superb. And it just shows the strength across the home nation separately, and when we come together as Britain at senior and junior level, we really are a force to be reckoned with. But in terms of the question of the event, so something like 100 plus swimmers and 30 plus coaches will be selecting during the course of this week, and finally on Monday at the selection meeting. And to be honest, we want, because they're age limited, to emphasise them as much as we can to give that experience of team working, of exposure to the arena. and also in some cases just show some potential perhaps for people breaking through into the Olympic team next year.
Indeed. So there are so many meets. There's 4 or 5 junior meets that swimmers can be selected for. How do you go about deciding which one is appropriate for any one individual swimmer? I mean, surely you wouldn't have one junior go to all 4 of the youth meets in the summer. I mean, that would be, I guess, a little ridiculous. So how do you decide which one is appropriate for which?
A rule of thumb is 2 of those meets to be emphasised in agreement with the coach and the athlete. It'd be difficult. Some of them do clash anyway, so you couldn't do all of them. But you know, for example, the European Youth Olympic Festival, EOF for short, that's at the end of July, right slap back on top of the British Summer Championship. So that rules one in and obviously the other one out. European Juniors, if someone's good enough to be in EOF and the European Juniors, that would probably be about their summer. You can be at European Juniors and the 23 and under event, but only one swimmer per event can be selected for that. So they would be our best juniors trying to compete with the 23 and under category. So usually 2 events. I've actually been talking to some coaches and athletes this morning about if you get in both, would you want to do them or would you want to emphasise one? So it's not really for me or anyone else to dictate that. If the athlete and we agree that that's the best thing for them, then that's what we'll put them in.
Really? Okay. So I'm a youngster and I go, you know what, I'd like to go to Trinbago. I'd like to go to the under-23s and I'd like to go to somewhere else as well. You're going to turn around and go, what, are you sure? Is that a good idea or no? Are you yes, no man, or are you is that a good idea, man?
First of all, it would be, is that a good idea? But ultimately, the call would be made since we're selecting the teams as to what it is that we would put people forward for. There is a professional agreement, if you like, between ourselves and the home nations that we will talk about the Commonwealth Youth Games selections in conjunction with the British teams so that we aren't overexposing someone, because we know from experience that if you do that repeatedly over the summer, you've no gas left in the tank by the time you come around to the last meet. Even our seniors said that last year about Europeans after Worlds and Commonwealth Games. So 2 meets would be the rule of thumb. It's unlikely that anybody would do more than that.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I'll just update you again on this heat 5 of the men's 1500 metres freestyle. I think this is the 950 metre turn just gone. So they will have 11 lengths to go at that last turn. And going well in lane number 3 is Luke McGee of Northumberland and Durham, just leading from the white hat up there. In lane number 7, I think that is Cameron Travis of University of Aberdeen Performance, coached there by Patrick Miley. But 4 guys in this hunt still, and this is very interesting coming into the 1,000 metre turn. 10 lengths to go in this last heat that we will see this morning. The final heat is this evening. Leading in lane number 3 is Luke McGee. Second, just about 1 lane closer to us in lane 2 is Sean McCann of Leicester. Up there in 7th, Cam Travis. And in 5, Jack Muncy, still right in the hunt. He's been there or thereabouts all the way through. But still delighted to be joined by Alan Lynn, the Head of Performance Development for Swimming, Diving and Para. That's quite a lot of stuff to cover across 3 fairly different and diverse disciplines. Do you find them really very different, or are there commonalities through the whole thing which makes it actually much more easy to understand once you get into it?
The commonalities, I guess, are just around these are young people who've got ambitions in sport. They go to school, they train very, very hard on a weekly basis, and those are where the commonalities sit. When it comes to the actual disciplines themselves, of course, swimming and para-swimming is swimming, and most of the Paralympic swimmers now that we have in our main programmes are integrated, so they swim with able-bodied swimmers that we're seeing this week. The divers obviously require different facilities, and those are spread from Plymouth to Aberdeen and everything else in between, including this wonderful facility here at Ponsfords in Sheffield, where some of our best divers, Jack Law, trains here on a daily basis. So supporting the athletes, supporting the coaches is part of the programme that we try and wrap around them with sports science, sports medicine and coaching support.
Very good. Very, very good. Well, this is the 1150 metre turn in this heat 5 of 6 of the men's 1500 metres freestyle, and they're just starting to turn up the pace here. Quite interesting to see the battle between lanes 2 and 3, and up there in 7 2 is Sean McCann, closest to us. Just about leading still is Luke McGee of Northumberland. And up there in 7 is Cam Travis of Aberdeen. And they're really tracking each other, just starting to turn up the pace a little bit, increasing the pace of turnover of the stroke a little bit. That is the 1200 metres mark, so 6 lengths to go in this heat 5 of 6 heats of the men's 1500 free. And Luke McGee, well, he's starting to be challenged. Right on the lane line is Sean McCann. So Alan Lynn, head of performance development, not only were you talking about swimmers in that meeting the other day, but I was fascinated to see the number of coaching spots that were going to be selected for the summer championships. I think, if I remember rightly, and you'll tell me if I'm wrong, was it 30 or something like that? 30 coaching spots available?
Yeah, if you include the World Championship team and all the others that I outlined a few minutes ago, that's going to be 30 plus coaches. We have open water events and we have junior open water events too. So yeah, that's a great opportunity for us, not just to develop swimmers, but to do the same for coaches. And the feedback, the general sense around the deck is, that's a wonderful opportunity for those who get that this summer, and it does begin to motivate and interest coaches for sticking their hand up and saying, I want to be involved in that too.
And how do you work with the coaches? Because I guess it can't just be send them a letter saying congratulations, you're on the team. I mean, that would be an interesting way of going. But how do you make sure that those that are selected for the meets are doing what British swimming would like, and what the pathway, I guess, and the programme and the strategy that you're putting together? How do you make sure everyone understands what that is, buys into it, and then drives it forward through the teams?
A lot of that's about communication and getting people together to, if we have an alignment for a common objective, whether that's a team or if it's a programme, then obviously we can't dictate what people do in their individual environment. So if we have high alignment with the goal, with the purpose, we can allow people to buy into that, and the autonomy comes with them doing their own thing in their own programme in pursuit of that common objective.
And so we unfortunately don't have too long left to talk to you. I could talk to you for hours, Alan, but if you've got one message to British swimming in terms of your role as head of performance development, getting those youngsters through onto Olympic podiums ultimately, what would be the message to the swimmers and the coaches?
Honestly, none of this comes easy. You know that, I know that. It's about applying yourself, and it's about having that dream, that goal that might not be realised this year, but in a few years' time, if you keep working hard with your coach and with your parents, that dream can be realised. We're seeing some of those realised this week here at Sheffield, and more to come, I'm sure, in the summer. So my message is a positive, encouraging one for everybody. There's something for you here, so keep working hard.
Fantastic. Alan Lynn, Head of Performance Development for British Swimming, thank you so much for joining. Really delighted and fascinating chatting with you. So the final 50 metres here in this last heat that we will see of the 1500 metres freestyle. Sean McCann closest to us. He's swimming well. He's starting to overtake Luke McGee of Northumberland, but going really well inside this last 200 is Cameron Travis up the top there from Aberdeen. And it looks like Travis may well get the touch. It's a great sprint. These guys really have thrown themselves at each other and at the vent. Brilliant swimming, and delighted to say the resulting times, and I know Amy Wilmot will be delighted at this, 15:59.7 and 15:59.8 for the first two finishes. Well, such a tough one for Luke McGee at 16 minutes, 0.16. But still a really good swim from him. Lifetime best from all those three. But the first two just ducking under the 16-minute barrier for 1,500 metres. It's massive. Great race, though, Amy.
Yeah, brilliant to watch that. It was kind of that 3 to 4 header race the whole way along. Luke McGee and Sean McCann, they took it out really well. But Cameron Travis there in lane 7 finished so strong. So, yeah, really good from those top three swimmers. But, yeah, my heart goes out to Luke McGee. 16 minutes. 0.16, just the wrong side of that massive barrier, but still a fantastic swim.
Well, it really was. 15:59.7, 15:59.8, so 8 100ths of a second splitting those first two. So that is the end of the morning heat session. There's going to be some cracking races tonight, Amy. Really looking forward to those sprint freestylers, both women and men. The 50. Can we get a couple of qualifiers there? And that swim from Matt Richards this morning with Burris turning the gas off. Duncan Scott right in the mix as well. It's going to be really interesting. What are you looking for most?
Yeah, I think that men's 100 freestyle will be a very, very tight race, but also we've got the final heat of the men's 1500 metres freestyle to look forward to.
Well, join us again, 6 p.m. this evening on the British Swimming website for night 3 of finals at the British Swimming Championships 2023 from Sheffield. It's 6 o'clock tonight. It's goodbye from me, Andy Jameson.
And goodbye from me, Amy Wilmot.
Goodbye.